Pirates Fire Dragon Roar Chapter 421-440. Chapter 421 Fire Dragon X2. You said. Carmenio looked unbelievable, and because he was too shocked, his mouth opened a little unconsciously. What? Vlad stretched out his left hand, and the corner of his mouth opened an exaggerated arc. Would you like to try it? You understand it. The absolute difference in strength between us. If you want to resist now, I am afraid you will do whatever you want. No way. So. Would you like to try it? My fruit ability should not be a secret. Vlad smiled. Mythical, dragon fruit is quite a powerful fruit ability. If you want to try it, maybe you can escape from my hand by copying my fruit ability. Vlad really wanted to give it a try, to see how far Gamenio's copying fruit could achieve. From the information he knew in his previous life, what Vlad could know was that the copying fruit could be said to be a superior ability to imitate the fruit. Compared with the imitation fruit that can only copy the appearance of a person, a more powerful copy fruit can copy a person's ability, while copying a person's appearance. So, what is the scope of this ability? Fruit ability, or personal ability? This is really curious enough. So Vlad wanted to give it a try. He was not very familiar with other people and other abilities, and only Carmenio and him are still alive on this small island, so I really want to try it out, what kind of copying ability this guy can achieve. Carmenio's face was gloomy and uncertain. Can you believe what Vlad said? He is not a fool, just like his appearance. This guy's personality is also like a lizard, and he will never trust others easily. Escape from the hands of Shichibukai, the king who originally offered a bounty of 750 million. Yatilda, what are you hesitating about? Vlad looked a little unhappy, and said casually, do you still expect to be able to compete with me with this wild boar-like form? Well, forget it. Vlad withdrew his left hand. His tone was not friendly at all. It seems that you can only have a good understanding of our differences. Open your eyes, hold your breath, brace yourself, and put yourself in a position. Vlad clenched his right fist. Observation Haki also give me full power. I'll attack you right away. What? Carmenio was a little surprised and didn't quite understand what Vlad meant. 2 seconds. Vlad raised 2 fingers and chuckled. 2 seconds after I finish saying this, my fist will hit your chin heavily. Quote. Carmenio Vivi bowed his head and said in a very cold tone, how arrogant, to what extent do you despise people? 1. Vlad withdrew his raised fingers and clenched his fist again. 2. Vlad looked lazy. Come. Gamenio tensed his nerves. Then. Scoff. The shadow had already appeared in front of him. At this time, Gamenio's face was blank, and he was still on guard for Vlad, who was already in the distance. Rising Dragon. The heavy punches from bottom to top slammed into Gamenio's chin, without the slightest resistance or obstruction. Go to heaven. Ah! Accompanied by screams, Carmenio soared into the sky, spiraling like a rocket. It's all said. Vlad put his hands around his chest, and said with some hatred of iron becoming steel, I want you to pay attention. Why are you disobedient? Bang! Ah tilde. The tall figure fell heavily on the ground, and a big mouthful of blood poured out of his mouth as if he didn't want money. The intense pain could easily be seen on his face, and his jaw was probably broken. How is it? Vlad stepped forward leisurely, with a calm tone. This guy didn't even have any thoughts that made him contemptuous. He was really weak. I should be able to understand now, right? The so-called distance between the sky and the deep sea, the difference between a dragon and a lizard, that is. The difference between me and you. Ah tilde. Carmenio got up from the ground with some difficulty. He had regained his human form, and his eyes hidden under the orange spectacles did not know what kind of expression he looked like. However, the lower half of the man's face was full of eyes. Is panic. This is, Shichibukai, the king. What did you say? Vlad frowned. What nonsense are you talking about? Your Majesty Shichibukai. Ha! I'm Vlad, Fire Dragon Vlad, Stop substituting my level into those guys' level without authorization. This strength. He stood up staggeringly. Vlad's punch that was not too much might not have caused him any damage, but the heavy blow to the chin caused the man to have a slight concussion. It is true qualified to say such things. Okay, now that the strength display is over, you already understand. If it is based on your current strength, I can kill you in seconds even if I don't use my ability. Vlad stretched out his left hand again. So, come on, take your only chance to survive. Quote. There is no second choice. Kamenio breathed a sigh of relief and stepped forward. He already understood that Vlad did not lie. If he fought against him in his current situation, he would be killed in an instant with such a terrifying force. Since there is no power to resist, it is meaningless to be wary that Vlad will do things when he duplicates his ability, because whether he is wary or not, it is the same, and there will be no change. It was very common, like two people shaking hands. Carmenio's left hand had been pressed on Vlad's left hand. It looked like two people were shaking hands peacefully. Well. Vlad watched Carmenio withdraw his hand instantly, and took 2 steps back like a frightened rabbit. He thought to himself, doesn't copy ability need to touch people's faces like a fruit? This is convenient. A lot. Quote. This. Carmenio looked a little surprised. His body changed, and his body began to shrink. Soon, a guy exactly like Vlad was standing in front of him. This is no different from imitating the fruit, but... Vlad said coldly, hey, idiot, you'd better change it back for me, I can't accept such a poor imitation. Gigi. Gamenio recovered his appearance, and the man began to laugh. Such power. There. The flames soared into the sky. Gigi. Quote. Such power. Going colored flames swept the sky, and the fiery red dragon had appeared in front of Vlad, and the fire dragon of the Gamenio version roared, such power. It's too beautiful. Chapter 422 Overwhelming. Hey, such power. The flames spurted wildly, the same color as going, the extremely noble appearance. The turbulent flames rushed into the sky from the fiery red dragon man. The surrounding temperature rose rapidly, and in the blink of an eye, the temperature was already high enough to be useless. Vlad felt a little hot. Is this the power of Zone Mythical's dragon fruit? Carmenio laughed wildly. Such power, with such power. Even me, with such power, can sprint towards the position of One Piece, King of Pirates. Well. Vlad didn't care about the expansion of Gamenio at all. It was a matter of course. Vlad was also very inflated after he got the dragon fruit. People are always overjoyed when they get an unexpected harvest. Vlad, it's okay for him to swell once. After all, this is also the last time he swells. The ability is well replicated, but, Vlad smiled, going colored flames. I really miss it. I haven't seen such flames for a long time. What's it like? Although the ability is copied, it has not been transformed into a more powerful platinum fire. Yes, because I don't know, or because I can't do it. Hey, lizard. Vlad would ask if he didn't know something. Can I use a stronger form? Hey, fire dragon, thank you so much. Gamenio grinned strangely, thank you so much. For giving me such power. Really, don't you understand human speech? Vlad looked unhappy. I'm asking you something. Hey. In a breath, Vlad had appeared in front of the tall dragon man. It was a wonderful experience. Usually, he appeared in front of others in this appearance. Armament hockey was instantly attached to Vlad's arm. He was very aware of the power of his flames. Although he didn't use it very often, if he didn't use hockey, the flames would definitely make him feel uncomfortable if he didn't use hockey. Bang! The two fists collided heavily, and Vlad's black fist and Gamenio's fist wrapped in golden flames were heavily bombarded together. Hockey, it's not a good thing to be touched by this flame. The strong shock wave swept everything around. Gigi. I can see it. I can see it. With a wanton smile, Gamenio threw a second punch. His fist was shining. Just regret it. Fire Dragon Vlad. Just regret giving me such power because of my arrogance. Meteor strike. Boom. The violent flames spread instantly, and everything around was swept away. The wreckage of the surrounding ships was instantly smashed into pieces, and huge waves splashed on the nearby sea. Hey! Gently landed on the ground, Vlad looked a little disgraced. Of course, he was not injured. Sure enough, can even my tricks be replicated? Really amazing ability. Yeah, this trick is amazing. Vlad looked up at the sky and said so. Damn. Above the sky, Carmenio flapped his wings with a look of pain on his face. His left hand had been broken, and the strength of the previous meteor strike was beyond his arm. Is it too powerful? Then try this trick. Rubbing and pulling his hands together, a glowing-colored flame spear with a faint white gold light appeared in his hands. Meteor gun. He made a gesture of projecting a javelin in the air, and the javelin in his hand was already thrown towards Vlad. This trick will do, so it can be judged that this guy can copy even the ability of people. However, it seems that limited by his own quality, he can't copy everything. Looking at the flame javelin coming towards him, Vlad smiled helplessly. This move is not easy to dodge. It's very powerful. Exactly, I don't want to play anymore. There. White gold flames soared into the sky. What? Carmenio was extremely surprised. What did he see? The meteor spear that could have easily smashed the surrounding area into ruins was easily caught. Literally, the fiery red dragon man stretched out his right hand and directly caught the flame javelin. I don't want to play anymore. So, don't use my abilities anymore. For a weak guy like you, using my abilities makes me feel ashamed. With a slight flick, Vlad threw the flame spear in his hand and landed on the other half of the island far away. A powerful explosion just happened. What? Carmenio couldn't help widening his eyes, looking a little unbelievable. Really, what are you surprised about? Vlad flapped his wings gently, and the strong wind instantly swept away the surrounding smoke. Lizard, shouldn't you be so arrogant that you can be equal to me after you have the same ability? Even if you are really a stupid guy, but there must be a limit to such stupidity. Damn. Above the sky, Carmenio gritted his teeth, but he also understood that the copying fruit is very powerful and can copy the ability of the other party, and even the ability of the experience level. The ability of the body, but there is a difference between the quality of the body and the earth, and the combat power displayed after the increase is of course even greater. Blessing. Carmenio shouted so loudly, golden flames spewed out of his body, and then immediately retracted towards his body, which seemed to be the same as when Vlad himself used Zurong. Hey hey hey. Vlad twitched the corners of his mouth and said disdainfully, learn to be a little more self-aware. You think you are me? Hey. Just like what Vlad said, Carmenio didn't put on the golden armor as he wished, and a scream of pain came from his mouth. His body swelled violently, and then retracted again, back and forth. His body it is constantly deforming, but it is unable to enter the Zurong mode. Vlad can already see it here. Copying the fruit is indeed the ability to copy people's experience, but such copying is instinctive, that is to say, Carmenio knows what to do, but he doesn't know why. This also means that he will not adapt to changes. What Vlad can do means that he can do it. Zurong is completely uncontrollable to him, neither flame nor hockey nor physique can reach that standard. Okay, I've seen enough of your ugliness. Vlad smiled. Take a good look. This is overwhelming power. Mobile users please visit Reading for a better reading experience. Chapter 423 Bad Guy. Flame Thruster. Vlad whispered. There. In the blink of an eye, raging flames had already spewed out from his body, and a strong propulsive force instantly acted on him. That's it. Come on. Hey. The fiery red figure shot out instantly, pointing directly at Carmenio, who was still hanging above the sky. So fast. Only such a thought could flash in Carmenio's mind, and Vlad's figure had already appeared in front of him. Take it. Vlad Lang said, give me a good catch. At the same time as he spoke, Vlad had already slapped the whip with a heavy kick, and he did not use the flame. The flame was useless to Caminio, who was also a fire dragon. At the same time, Vlad also felt that dealing with it's a bit of a waste for the guy to use the flame. Can't see. Caminio was very surprised. Before Vlad's dragon transformation, he could still see Vlad's attack trajectory very clearly with his extraordinary strength after dragon transformation, but now he can't even see it at all. But, fortunately, his eye's invisibility doesn't mean Hockey can't detect it. Caminio's observation Hockey was still able to pass the level. His right arm was instantly raised and blocked in front of Vlad's legs. The dark armament Hockey was attached to it. Kala kala kala. Ah! The sound was like popcorn, which made one's teeth sour. Vlad's long legs slammed heavily on Caminio's arm. Along with Caminio's shrill cry, his arm was directly pierced. Vlad interrupted, and his forearm was directly broken. Whether it was armament Hockey who put on a piece of armor for him or the indestructible dragon scale defense, it was useless under Vlad's whip leg and was easily shattered. Ah! Screaming so miserably, Caminio was directly blasted away by Vlad's heavy whip leg, and flew towards the higher and farther sky. Hee hee, don't worry, classmate. Vlad flapped his wings, the flame thruster did not close, this is just the beginning. Hey! The flames were attached to Vlad's wings, making his fiery red wings look like a pair of flaming white gold flame wings. Combined with the flame jets from all over the body, it could bring Vlad's attention. Incredible speed and agility. No. Caminio struggled to keep his balance in the air by flapping his wings. His face filled with fiery red scales was horrified. This guy is really too strong. Even if he has the same ability as him, it is useless, can't fight. Win. How can you beat a guy like that? Caminio is very clear that this is not Vlad's full strength. The Jurong mode that he failed to enter just now is his full strength. Even in such a situation, he can be hanged and beaten. If Vlad is serious, I'm afraid it will be killed in an instant, right? Have to run. Caminio was unexpectedly not a man of the dead. But, hey, do you want to run? What a pity. Such a voice came suddenly from behind him. You don't have this chance. Hey. Caminio's eyes widened suddenly. Boom. Hockey's fist, which was covered with a dark and strange color, slammed into Caminio's back. Crunch. Some crisp sounds do not make people feel bad. PFF'd. Caminio spit out a mouthful of blood, his chest bulged up sharply, and his body stretched into a bow ready to go. Just now, Vlad's heavy punch directly broke his spine. This man, the battle that belongs to him has effectively ended. Whoosh. Like an unloaded cannonball, Caminio ripped through the air and fell toward the ground. Boom. As if bombarded by missiles, the smoke rose from the ground, and Vlad could clearly see the dense cracks on the ground that radiated toward the surrounding. Hey. In the deep pit, Caminio was lying on the ground, unable to move. He still maintained the appearance of a fiery red dragon. However, the battle was indeed over. Even if he had the same ability, there was no doubt about it. Yes, there is an absolute strength gap between the two, and with just 2 blows, the battle is over. Gruff. A big mouthful of blood poured out of his mouth, and the ground around his head was covered with blood. Damn. Caminio scolded weakly. Now he can't move. His lower body has completely lost consciousness. This is normal. His spine has been mercilessly interrupted by Vlad, the internal transmission of information. The nerves have been broken, and it would be really amazing to be able to act as if nothing had happened. Damn. Ah, see what I heard. Gently flapping his wings, Vlad fell from the sky with his arms around his chest, and said somewhat mockingly, "Is this the whining of the defeated dog?" Yuck. Another mouthful of blood spurted out, and Caminio's tone was full of doubts. Why? Fire Dragon, why? Why did you come to me? Why can you find me? Isn't it already said? Vlad was a little impatient. I'm very interested in your abilities. That's why I'm here. As for how to find you, you don't need to know. Interested in my abilities. Caminio is very powerless. Is this really the reason? So, stop being like this. Vlad tilted his head. Although I took the initiative to make you look like this, don't keep coming back. I can't help but want to kill you. Cough cough. Accompanied by a strong cough, was it the blood spurting out? Caminio returned to his human appearance and said weakly, "Don't kill me, I am willing to be your subordinate, you are here for my ability, then I am willing to surrender. Since you are very interested in my ability, you should also know that my ability will definitely be able to help you." Quote. Hey, this kind of attitude makes sense. Vlad smiled, "I've changed my mind about you. Then, Lizard, tell me all the information about your ability to copy the fruit." What? Caminio is a little confused. This guy is here to recruit him. It's not surprising to give him a disgrace, but what is the purpose of knowing his abilities? Doesn't that make any sense? Is it to check and balance yourself? Really a careful man. That being the case, in order to survive, this is not something that cannot be said. Caminio was lying on the ground and honestly began to narrate, introducing his abilities in detail. Oh, got it. It didn't take long. Vlad nodded, looking very satisfied. Okay, I'm done. Caminio looked weak. Take me to the doctor. My injury is very serious. What? Vlad blinked. What are you talking about? What? Caminio was a little confused. Aren't you thinking too much? Vlad stretched out his right hand. I've said it before, I'm only interested in your abilities. Everything else is your illusion, right? However, although I can't take you to see a doctor, I can still help you relieve the pain. I am such a bad person, Tilda. The last thing Caminio saw was a right hand emitting an ominous black smoke. Chapter 424 Fruit Grab. Devil fruit is really a very magical existence, and so far, there is still no thorough and in-depth knowledge of this kind of sea treasure in the world. The existing pieces of information are only information that can be observed intuitively. For example, only one devil fruit ability can exist at the same time. For example, those with abilities will become land ducks. For example, everyone can only have one ability, and there are relatively secret information. The devil fruit will respawn after the power user dies. This information is limited to observation, and it is not difficult to detect. People know it will happen, but they don't know why it happens. They know it and don't know why. For thousands of years, devil fruits have been formed as an important combat force on the sea, but it is not known. But now, it seems to be different. There is a guy who seems to have cracked the secret of devil fruit. Even if he doesn't, it should be very close. The man's name is Vegapunk, a man who can make artificial devil fruit. Of course, this actually has nothing to do with Vlad. Although Vlad is also curious about the secret of devil fruit, he does not regard it as something that must be understood. Vlad is most concerned about how to seize the copy. Fruit this thing. This is really not an easy task. It is impossible to have an in-depth understanding of devil fruits. It is even more confusing to want to seize devil fruits. However, Vlad knows that such a thing is not impossible. In the original story, Blackbeard took the power of the Junjun fruit and became an unprecedented dual ability person, which is more than Vlad's. The pseudo-dual ability person doesn't know how high he is, what Blackbeard can do. Vlad thinks to himself that there is no reason why he can't do it. Although the principle is not very clear, the most popular conjecture about Teach's ability to seize the shock fruit in the previous life is that it is the ability of the dark fruit. Vlad also thinks so. After all, the most special thing about Teach is that he has the most special devil fruit. However, even with this kind of speculation, even if the dark fruit has been obtained, Vlad still can't be sure how to get the ability. He doesn't know the exact process of Teach's acquisition of the tremor fruit. Everything depends on conjecture. Well, although it's all conjecture, I think it's very feasible. Vlad smiled like this, squatting in a huge pit. In front of him, the man named Caminio had stopped breathing. Vlad fulfilled his promise and ended the man's pain. But it's already reached this point, and it's not enough if you don't try it, right? Vlad took out an apple from his pocket, held it in his right hand, and stuck the apple in his right hand to Gamenio's body. Hey, let's see if you succeed or not. Vlad's face was flushed with excitement. He is not a man who likes to take risks, but occasionally taking risks will make him feel very excited. The current situation is that it is no longer possible to take risks. If he kills it, if he can't successfully capture his ability, he will naturally say goodbye to the copy fruit. Don't let me down. Don't let the teach in heaven down. Although alone, surrounded by the ruins of the past, Vlad still shouted excitedly. Dark water. The viscous liquid-like black gas has covered Vlad's right hand, and the strange dark gravitational force has acted on Gamenio's body. Q. Does the dark gravitational force of the dark fruit have any effect on the dead? The answer is yes, as long as the ability is still on that person's corpse. Oh, quote. Vlad was very excited. It didn't disappoint me, and teach didn't disappoint. Vlad had already felt that even though he was dead, Gamenio's body was still moving towards Vv's right hand. However, Vlad could clearly feel that this movement was getting weaker and weaker. It seems that something that exists in Gamenio's body and is attracted by his dark gravitational force is about to emerge from Gamenio's body. The fruit ability that Vlad conjectured is very simple, not a great conjecture. Vlad is not a genius, and his IQ is not outstanding. The only thing better than people in this world may be intelligence. Vlad believes that in order to achieve the power of the devil fruit, two conditions must be relied on. First, it is the characteristics of the devil fruit itself. The devil fruit will be reborn. Even if it is placed in this world, many people know it. However, it needs to be clear that the regeneration of the devil fruit is not an ability. After the person dies, his devil fruit will grow on some ghost devil fruit tree. At present, there is no sign of the existence of the so-called devil fruit tree. The so-called devil fruit rebirth means that when a person with power dies, his devil fruit will be randomly reborn on a fruit in the sea. That is to say, in theory, as long as they bring enough fruits, or are lucky enough, anyone can seize the fruit ability and become a devil fruit ability hunter. However, a theory is a theory after all, and it is not practical. The sea is too big. Who can guarantee that such a rebirth will happen by his side? Therefore, Vlad believes that in order to ensure that such a rebirth occurs in the near future, another condition is required, which is the second condition of Vlad's conjecture, that is, the attraction of the dark fruit to the devil. It is an indisputable fact that the dark fruit can attract the ability person. However, Vlad is a little curious. Is this attraction attracting the ability person or the ability itself? In other words, is it attracting people with ability, or the ability that acts on the body of the person with ability? Vlad thinks it is the latter. He has already conducted experiments when he just obtained the dark fruit. When Tessero is caught by him, Tessero's ability disappears, and at the same time, Vlad's gravitational force on him also disappears. That is, it is said that there is attraction when there is ability. Well, since that's the case, all the conditions are met. Devil fruit will regenerate, that is to say, the fruit ability will gradually break away from the body of the person with ability after the death of the person with ability, and randomly respawn on a certain fruit. The existence of the dark fruit is precisely to break such randomness. The attraction of the dark gravitational force to the fruit's ability means that such randomness has become controllable, and the strong gravitational force can completely guide the direction of the ability. When the devil fruit ability is pulled by the dark gravitational force, it escapes in the direction set by Vlad, and then encounters a fruit. What will happen? Woo ha 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 ha. Vlad laughed, raised his right hand high. Isn't this successful? In his hand, the original apple was changing shape, and circles of spiral patterns appeared on the surface. Copy the fruit, get it. Chapter 425 Wanted. Ah. Vlad looked at the strange-looking fruit in his hand, and sighed a little melancholy for some reason. It's so easy to get it, I don't have a sense of accomplishment. When a person makes up his mind to do something, but suddenly finds that this thing is done easily. It is really a somewhat melancholy thing. Woo ha ha. Vlad suddenly patted his head and laughed loudly. Forget it, don't be cheap. So, what to do with this fruit? Vlad pinched his chin, looking a little confused. This is really, I wanted it before I got it, but now I have it, I don't know how to deal with it. Vlad is not going to use this fruit himself. It would be too wasteful to turn a devil fruit as powerful as a replica fruit into equipment or something, right? No matter how powerful it is, no one knows that the devil fruit is the most powerful if you have to eat it yourself. The method of making devil fruit into equipment is inherently flawed, and it is difficult to develop the fruit's ability. The ability of, not to mention that many devil fruits are directly useless if they are attached to dead objects, such as diamond fruit. Wouldn't it be too wasteful to attach an ability like a copy fruit to a ring? Isn't the role of the experience level ability of the replica fruit replicator completely useless? This is too wasteful. Being able to copy the experience of the other party is too powerful. Although it can only be used subconsciously, it is also very powerful, okay. Of course, copying the fruit is not invincible, and there are also many constraints. Vlad just listened to what Gamenio said. First of all, the first limitation, like the imitation fruit, the replica fruit must touch the opponent to be able to copy the opponent's ability, although it is not necessary to touch the face like the imitation fruit, as long as it touches any part of the body. But, don't forget, armament hockey is an invisible layer of armor that can block touch, and Vlad's recent opponents have been hard to find who can't hockey. Second, it is easy to understand that the copying position of the copying fruit is unique, and it can only copy one person at the same time. In fact, it is not as good as its lower-level fruit, which imitates the fruit. The imitation fruit can store all the characters that have been imitated at any time. Imitate again. But copying the fruit is not enough. There is only one copy space allowed by this fruit, which can be understood as insufficient memory. If you want to copy a new person, you must delete the ability of the previous person, and you want to use the copy fruit to become multiple fruits. Capable ones are virtually impossible. Third, just like all devil fruit ability users, after being stunned, the ability will be released, which is actually nothing to say. Fourth, and the biggest limitation, that is, the copying fruit is only copying, not seizing, just like a mirror, it is just a reflection of the other party. The ability of the copying fruit to be copied is determined by the state of the other party when it is copied. Neither weaker nor stronger. For example, if what Vlad has is the copy fruit, then he has copied the straw hat at the moment, then he can exert stronger power with his physical fitness, but the tricks he can use are limited to the current straw hat can use. Don't even think about the tricks of the slaughter. The so-called copying is to be exactly the same. What is the ability of the normal body, and what will be the same after the copying? In this case, the ability of the fruit is a hindrance. Of course, this is actually nothing. If you are weak, you will find a powerful guy to copy, but the consequence of this is whether you can control the opponent's tricks to that level. But in fact, there is no big problem. As long as it is not a trick that requires great physical fitness, it is not a problem for this fruit, not to mention that this fruit can replicate its appearance. So, Vlad didn't want to waste it. He was thinking, who is this fruit better for? At present, there are still 3 people in the Fire Dragon Pirates who do not have the fruit ability: Paso, Sakata and Babo. Sakata directly excluded. This guy is a pure swordsman, never willing to accept the power of the devil fruit. So there are only 2 candidates. Although Paso is not very interested in devil fruit, I am afraid this fruit can greatly satisfy his curiosity as a researcher, right? So Forget it, go back and think about it. Vlad's figure jumped up sharply, and the fiery red scales had covered his body. He was slightly afraid of flapping his wings, and his tall body slowly lifted into the air. Ah, let's disturb the scene before leaving. Vlad looked down at the small desert island under his feet, stretched out his hands, white gold flames spewed out, and the 2 hands slammed together, visible to the naked eye. The flames began to converge towards the palm of his hand. Meteor gun. When he pulled his hands, a thick flame spear with some faint flames appeared in his hands. Scoff. Posing in a posture of projecting a javelin, the muscles of the whole body are tense, and the strength of the instant burst like a strong bow and crossbow. The javelin of the mobile phone has been projected. Treasure of the gun. Vlad smiled, very wickedly. Ohm. With some low voices, streaks of white gold light slid out of the meteor gun and then swelled. In the blink of an eye, another meteor gun was formed, then the third, and then the fourth. Branch. Between breaths, the sky is already full of white lines, like rain falling to the innocent island. Boom 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 boom. The continuous earth-shattering explosions and the strong shock waves can be clearly felt even in the deep and high altitude of Vlad, and thousands of waves are instantly aroused around the island. Soon, this small island has disappeared. Hey hey hey. Vlad laughed. If someone followed the recording pointer and found that there was nothing there, poof tilde ha 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 ha, what an interesting sight it would be. To repeat, Vlad is not a good person, he only does what he likes to do, and he likes watching others helplessly. Well. Vlad raised his head in surprise, something fell from the sky, and the speed was not slow. Whoosh. White birds fell from the sky. Oh, news bird, did you faint from the shock wave? Vlad held out his hand. Holding a newspaper, he didn't care about the news bird at all, took a newspaper and let the news bird fall. Hey, earn, free newspaper. Huh, this is. Vlad Vv's eyes widened and he took out a wanted notice from the newspaper. Oh tilde it's coming. Chapter 426 impending. Hey, is this the first time I've seen this face since I came to this world? Vlad gently isho, so he said. There was a face painted on the wanted notice. It was a young man, at least a few years younger than Vlad. He had black hair, a big smile on his face, big teeth, and there was still a big tooth under his left eye. A scar, the most conspicuous, is that he also wears a straw hat on his head. Monkey D. Luffy, haha. Vlad breathed a sigh of relief. Although he knew after seeing Blackbeard and obtaining the dark fruit, the real drama in this world had just begun, but only when he got real news from the man, only then can I feel that the tide of the times has really come over. A bounty of 30 million Baileys. Vlad read word by word slowly but seriously, life or death. Woo-ha-ha, woo-ha-ha-ha-ha-ha. It's funny, hey. Vlad laughed, flapped his wings, and slowly flew to the sky. He was still laughing, it's already here. Straw hat. With a bounty of 30 million, Vlad knew very well that this was the first time that Straw Hat Luffy had offered a bounty, far exceeding the average level of East Blue. In terms of time, the Straw Hat Pirates have already defeated the Fishman Pirates and basically wiped out all the powerful pirate groups in East Blue, and Marine's work has been done by them. According to the speed at which the news bird is sending news, Vlad has reason to believe that at this time, the Straw Hats may have rushed into the Great Route, and they should still be experiencing a sailing life that is completely different from East Blue. Counting the time, it should collide with the crocodile soon, right? So will the crocodile guy still be defeated by him like in the plot? Vlad is looking forward to it. Hey hey hey. Vlad threw away the wanted notice of the straw hat, his wings slammed, and the whole person had already soared into the sky, leaving only a series of heroic laughter, ooh-ha-ha-ha-ha. Don't expect me to be merciful. Best not to bump into my hands. In his previous life, Vlad liked the OP manga very much, the man of Monkey D. Luffy, and the group called the Straw Hat Pirates. However, Vlad did not influence today's judgment because of the preferences of the previous life. Since the Straw Hat's goal is also One Piece, King of Pirates, then he is a competitor. Since he is a competitor, he will not keep his hands, even if the Straw Hat is now. It's the same even if he hasn't grown up yet, as long as he encounters it, as long as he decides to be his enemy, he will take action without hesitation. Even if the man is Monkey D. Luffy. Ah-ha-ha-ha. I am really looking forward to it. Monkey D. Luffy. Teach has seen it, what will you be like? There. The flames spewed out, and he had turned into a fiery red line of fire and disappeared above the sky. Dash 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 dash. Move forward more than a week. In the waters near the Sabayati archipelago, a small boat is rapidly advancing on the sea. It is really a small boat. The boat that can still sail on the sea is probably the smallest, and it is difficult to find a boat smaller than it. It's really small, even smaller than the kind of small windsurfing boats that are put on board in case of accidents. Even if there is only one man standing on it, even if it is just that, it seems a little crowded. But, very soon, really a very fast boat, and flames poured out of the stern of the boat, giving the boat a strong momentum through the unknown structure, making the boat like a rocket on the sea dash forward. Paradise, it's been a long time. On the boat, a man with a naked upper body and a large skull pattern on his back said with a smile on his face, "Haha, such an easy sailing and a new world are two completely different concepts." And then, where is it? The man's name is Ace, Portgas D. Ace, the man nicknamed Fire Fist, the captain of the 2nd Division of the Whitebeard Pirates, the person who burns the fruit. The flame is injected into the boat from his feet, and turns into a powerful propulsion. He doesn't live in going. Really, the fire dragon guy. Ace looked very distressed, wandering around on the sea with a flying pirate ship. It's really not easy to find him. Fire Fist Ace didn't come to paradise without a purpose. He was looking for a man named Fire Dragon Vlad. He wanted to take back the relics of his old friend from Vlad's hands and put the man who used to be him. The sinners of his subordinates were brought back. Of course, what he didn't know, his two goals were no longer there, and his trip was destined to be futile, but it might not matter to him. He had already made such preparations, he just wanted to do something for his dead friend. The result is only secondary. What Ace cares about is the process. If he doesn't do anything, he will let his best friend die in vain. He can't accept it no matter what, even if the final result is futile, at least he will. Something has been done. However, the troublesome thing is that the Fire Dragon pirates have a flying pirate ship, which is always up and down. No one in the sea knows their movements. The only news that Emperor Going told him is that the Fire Dragon pirates have returned to the paradise. He didn't know exactly where. Well. Ace suddenly raised his head. Above the sky, a big bird flew over his head, as if it had found his small boat, and flew towards this side with its head down. Newsbird. Ace looked at the white bird floating in front of him with flapping wings in surprise. Well, then give me one. Ace dug out in his trouser pocket, and at the end there were a few coins left, which came out too quickly. There was no money, and he basically relied on the king's meal to eat. Quack. After calling twice, after Ace took out a newspaper from his stomach pocket, the newsbird flew into the sky. Huh. The moment Ace unfolded the newspaper, his eyes froze, and then a fiery flame ignited in his pupils. Luffy. That's it. That's it. You boy, Luffy. Ace looked very excited. Is it finally here? It really made me wait. You kid, did you finally go to sea? Ha ha ha, the bounty is 30 million Bailey. Not bad. Luffy, you are an excellent pirate too. Good. Ace put his big hand on the hat on his head, and the corner of his mouth ticked upwards. Since there is no trace of the fire dragon now, let's go and see that kid Luffy first. Hey, Luffy. There. The flame was injected into the boat under his feet, and the terrifying propulsive force instantly acted on it. The boat instantly turned into a sharp arrow that broke off the string and galloped away into the distance. Wait for me. Chapter 427 Meeting. Whoosh. The flames spewed, and the fiery red dragon cut through the sky, soaring freely above the cloudless sky. Below him was a white ocean. This is the White Sea, which is located 10,000 meters above the Blue Sea. It is absolutely difficult for ordinary people. Sight seen. Oh, it's finally here. Before long, a lush forest appeared in front of Vlad, and after flying for a long time, the Island of God finally appeared in front of him again. I don't know if it's my illusion. Vlad began to lower his altitude and was about to land, this is obviously my base camp, but why doesn't it seem like I have been here for a long time? The longest time Vlad stayed on Sky Island was when he first went to Sky Island and won the title of God. At that time, in order to wait for the completion of the Platinum Drag, he stayed at Sky Island very much. After a period of time, I didn't stay much after that. Even if I came back, I only stayed for a few days, and then set sail again immediately. There was no sign of the supreme ruler of this island at all. Whew. With the gust of wind blowing his wings, Vlad slowly landed outside the shrine. God. Very consciously, after seeing Vlad landing, a team of divine soldiers guarding the shrine bowed to Vlad Vivi with a very respectful attitude. Vlad is a justifiable and well-deserved god of Sky Island. It's over. Sky Island lasted 400 years of war, and opened the island of God so that Sky Island people can also taste the taste of things that grow in the earth. His reputation is full on Sky Island. Well, hard work. What Vlad said casually was the excited eyes of the magic soldiers, and the man who was most admired by him, or his top leader, said it was hard work. For these magic soldiers' exciting thing. Vlad didn't pay much attention to it. He had seen many such eyes, and stepped into the shrine. Oh. Before taking 2 steps, a very beautiful music sound had already reached Vlad's ears. It was the sound of a piano, a very beautiful and moving piano sound. The average literacy level of the dragon pirates is not high, let alone artistic accomplishment. Among the 9 people who can play the piano, only Serena, who was raised as an outstanding musician since childhood, and who, for a period of time when she was a child, embraced the desire to become one. Mr. Dino, a musician's dream. Vlad can easily identify that such wonderful music can only be the masterpiece of Miss Musician. As for Mr. Dino, Vlad just wants to say that his decision to change his career as a chef was very wise. The fact it proves that his talent in cooking is inversely proportional to his talent in music. Vlad was inexplicably happy. If he had to find a description, it would be like he suddenly went to a wonderful paradise made up of cream and sugar that belonged to him alone. It was so intoxicating. Vlad woke up suddenly, then with a smile on his face, he pushed open the door. Hey, that's great, Serena, I almost lost my mind. The piano sound came to an abrupt end, and the woman sitting in front of the piano in the corner turned her head in annoyance and frowned. Captain, has anyone ever told you not to talk casually while others are playing? Sorry. Vlad waved his hand a little embarrassed, and suddenly realized that he had interrupted her performance. I'm just a little excited. I can already affect my will without using the fruit ability. It's not bad. If you are serious now, even if you put tens of thousands of people in front of you, you can easily handle it, right? Isn't that right? With a very stinky expression, her eyebrows were slightly raised, and the corner of her mouth was hooked. The woman said proudly, my mother has also experienced hard training. Because. Then, Serena's expression suddenly became gentle, and even the corners of her eyes dropped a little. I want to help the captain too. The 2 personalities switched seamlessly. Vlad has long been accustomed to this kind of thing, and of course he will not be surprised anymore. Anyway, no matter which one is a partner he accepts and can entrust to his life and death. Speaking of which, Captain, why are you running out in such a hurry? Such a woman's voice came from one side. Oh, are you there, maid? Vlad turned his head and saw the lady maid sitting on the sofa, sipping black tea and reading a book leisurely. Always been. Miss Maid, BABY5 is unmoved. As the old crew member who has been with Vlad for the longest time, this woman is already very angry with Vlad. Sorry. Vlad then apologized for the second time, because I was completely attracted to Serena's music and didn't notice you at all. It's more annoying to say that, isn't it? So, Captain. Maid ignored it and asked, what did you gain from going out this time? The maid knows very well that the captain of her own family is a man who can't afford to be too early. He will never do meaningless things. This time he ran out suddenly, of course, for some important thing, just like the last time. Same as fruit. Hee hee. Speaking of the harvest this time, Vlad looked very proud, took out the well-preserved replica fruit from his pocket, and said with a smile, "This is it." Devil fruit. Miss Serena on the side looked very excited. "Is it a very powerful devil fruit?" "Captain, did you make a special trip?" "Well, very powerful, very powerful." Vlad replied, "This is a fact, the replica fruit is indeed a very powerful devil fruit, and among all the devil fruits known so far, I am afraid it is one of the most powerful ones." The beautiful woman has already leaned on Vlad, her eyes looking at the fruit in Vlad's hand like light. What kind of ability is it? What kind of ability is it? Even the author himself is about to forget that Miss Serena also has a setting for a curious baby. It's not the time to reveal it yet. Vlad spread his hands and stuffed the replica fruit back into his pocket. Why is this? Serena looked disappointed. No hurry, no hurry. Vlad shook his head. Reveal now. So, what about the others? Vlad said, I have a meeting. Anyone else? The maid took a sip of black tea and said casually, Luo is cooperating with Paso to conduct experiments, Enel should be tinkering with his robot, and Chef and Sakata should be testing new drugs with Beppo. Well, let me know right away. Forget it. Vlad turned his head and walked away. I'd better go by myself, by the way. What's going on with everyone this 2 weeks away? For the convenience of reading next time, you can bookmark at the top to record the reading record of this time monthly pass plus update. And you can see it when you open the bookshelf next time. Please recommend this book to your friends QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Lan, thank you for your support. Chapter 428 Giant Bear Beppo and Dragon Tooth Soldiers. Boom, boom. As soon as Vlad walked out of the hall, loud noises came from the back of the martial arts field, and the whole ground was shaking, as if two giant beasts were fighting not far away, and the whole land was being destroyed by their fighting. Shock. Oh, it's a bear. Vlad observation hockey swept away, and the situation on the back of the martial arts field was already clear. Observation hockey is really very convenient. In particular, Vlad's observation hockey, like a radar, can easily scan the surrounding area. Situation, any changes can be grasped at any time. Boom. The huge explosive bear slammed into the sky with a heavy palm, and patted the man on the ground like a hill. It's amazing. The man standing opposite the bear did not feel panic at all, and could sigh in a leisurely manner. With this indifference, he could know that this guy was definitely not a simple man. Mr. Bo actually just ate a piece of candy, and there is such a change. Boom. The storm swept up, but the giant bear's paw did not land on the man's body. From the man's body, the yellow grease spread up and gathered into a dome, exuding a strong fragrance, but it was such an easy thing to do. Block the blow of the explosion bear. You can push harder, Mr. Beppo. The man, Vlad's most trusted right-hand man, Dino, the chef of the Fire Dragon Pirates, smiled like this, don't keep your hands, I can still hold on. That's what you said. The violent wind spewed out from the bear's mouth. It was obviously just a roar, but it was like a thunderous explosion in the flat ground, and the wind was howling. Crackling. The bear's paw pressed on the dome made of butter suddenly tangled with electric light, and the fiery thunderlight even temporarily overwhelmed the brilliance of the sun. The special power possessed by the Fur tribe is not only the moon and lion, but the people of this tribe can freely use the power-strong static electricity. Crack, crackle, crackle. Electric light jumps on the dome made of butter. Unfortunately, pure butter does not conduct electricity. The butter made by chefs is not ordinary butter. This is a natural thing, and it is not unimaginable to be able to withstand lightning. But, oh, there. The chef watched helplessly as the center of the dome he made gradually melted. The flames began to spread rapidly on it, and a huge bear's paw had broken through the defense and blasted towards him. It is true that the chef's butter defense does not conduct electricity, but the dome is indeed afraid of heat, and a little fire brought by the electric light can set the dome on fire. Nice, Beppo. Chef praised. It seems that Mr. Passo's improved medicine has not failed this time, and he has not lost his will. Woo. The wild wind hit his face, and the chef's smooth hair was blown back by the fierce wind, but if I'm beaten like this, I can't do it. Oil hell. Wow. The sound of water sounded like a torrent, as if endless grease poured out of the chef's body, instantly drowning Bebo. So, can you break free, Beppo? The chef smiled lightly and clenched his fist lightly. The oil that was originally like a wave was instantly transformed into a solid rock in the blink of an eye, instantly binding the giant bear. How is it? Such a voice suddenly came from Sakata's ear, who was standing outside the arena fighting. He was not surprised, and replied softly, "Very good, Passo is really good. The new drug is a great improvement over the previous one, with extended time, increased strength, and of course, most importantly, Beppo's sanity hasn't been lost because of it." Vlad nodded, with a satisfied smile on his face. "Well, that's good." "Yeah." Sakata nodded. Then, Vlad turned around and left. "The meeting is over and come over for a meeting. I have something to say." Understood. Sakata was a little surprised. This captain rarely had such seriousness. Then, the next target was Enel, the god who was still in the factory. Vlad walked over to the robot factory on the other side. He was curious if Enel had already fulfilled his request. "Hey, how do you feel like playing a game?" Outside the factory, Vlad suddenly said, going to character NP one by one. Crack. An electric light suddenly fell in front of Vlad from the factory, and Enel's excited smile was already shown in front of Vlad. "Hey, Captain, you are back. Quick, quick." As soon as the man grabbed Vlad, he walked into the factory. "Hey, calm down, God." Vlad looked helpless. "Is something wrong?" "Yeah, haha." Enel smiled proudly. "It's done. Captain." "What?" Vlad was stunned for a moment, then overjoyed. "That is to say, the work of upgrading the dragon tooth soldiers I asked you to complete can be completed." "Answer wrong." Enel shook his fingers in disdain. "It's not that simple." "What?" Vlad frowned. "The answer is..." Enel took Vlad into the interior of the factory and waved his hand. "All the production lines have been upgraded. The Dragon Tooth Binkai Yunti limited edition is ready for production." "That's it." Vlad grinned. "Look this way." Enel turned into a light of lightning and flickered to the side. "This is it, the finished product." "Oh, this." Vlad walked in quickly and looked at the white robots standing at the corner of the wall. He was amazed. "This is really good. The only difference between the 5 white robots and the previous dragon teeth soldiers is that these guys are white. After all, they are made of cloud iron." "Yeah, haha, don't underestimate them, Captain." Enel said so, and clicked on the back of one of the robots closest to him. Ohm. The position of the eyes flashed red, and the robot started instantly. Identification, confirmation of highest authority, Master. The robot first glanced at Vlad for a while, and then bowed its head to Vlad Vivi with a very respectful appearance, which was impossible for the previous rigid robots. "As you asked." Enel explained to himself, "It doesn't give them too much intelligence, it's just limited to the various instructions I set for them in advance, but simple communication is still possible. At the same time, the recognition system is solidified, so that if we do, we will be able to realize the possibility of identifying the enemy and ourselves." Quote. "For example, your identification with the captain just now." Enel snapped his fingers. "Of course, it is impossible to identify our side a lot. After all, the capacity is limited. Fortunately, there are not many people in our pirate group, so the identification of the enemy is very simple, as long as the behavior does not conform to the rules I set for them. Can be judged as the enemy." Quote. "Not bad." Vlad exclaimed, "God, you are so amazing. You can do this in a short period of time." "Yeah, haha, it's too early to be surprised, Captain." Enel smiled like this, Come and see, because Yunti did it, so this kind of thing can also be done. Enel kicked the robot in the stomach. This. Vlad's eyes widened suddenly. Hey, this is too awesome. It's just. Chapter 429 Second Executive Meeting. It's just. Vlad was very excited. Hey, this is simply elementalization. What unfolded in front of Vlad was quite astonishing. Enel's kick didn't kick the robot away. On the contrary, what Vlad's eyes actually saw was as if he had kicked the white cloud. The foot went straight through the robot's body, kicking the robot through. Vlad was not surprised that Enel was able to kick the robot with one foot. Vlad was surprised that when Enel retracted his leg, the huge hole in the robot's stomach also healed. Like the elementalization of Logia. Hey, God, what's going on? Vlad asked as if his eyes were glowing. Yeah, haha, are you stunned? I was so surprised when I first found out about this situation. Enel looked smug, but on second thought, is it strange that something made of cloud iron doesn't have such properties? Well, that's right. Vlad nodded. This is indeed the truth. Cloud iron is a special product of Sky Island. His subordinate, the deputy commander of the God's Guard, has a knife made of cloud iron, which can change shape at will. On the body of the robot, isn't it elementalization? Of course, Captain, don't think too much of it. Enel spread his hands, because it is a robot after all, so even the internal wiring is made of cloud iron, and it can be twisted with the twist of the body, but after all, there is a limit, it must exist, and it cannot be completely transformed. Cloud, and as long as the wiring inside is broken, the robot is finished. Quote. Enough is enough. Vlad is not greedy, so what can be mass-produced is already so powerful, what else do you want? It really gave me a big surprise. Vlad is satisfied. Hey. Dash 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 dash. So. Vlad pushed open the door of the last place, looked at a group of people in white lab coats, and said softly, what are you guys doing? Oh, Captain, you're back. No one in the white coat paid any attention to him. The man who was talking was the man leaning against the wall with a long knife in his arms. He was the same guy who came to monitor Germa today as always. Well. Vlad nodded. What's the situation? Research hits a snag. Luo Xiao Yandan said, so I'm looking for a solution. The research that Paso has been carrying out recently is to cultivate genes that integrate a variety of organisms through the bloodline factor, and the genetic organisms that learn from others' strengths are not for the purpose of seeking combat power, but only because Vlad told him that the man who hurt him badly, the Kaido of the Beasts thing, this mad scientist is very interested in Kaido's magical constitution, and wants to make a similar thing. Originally, the progress of working alone was very slow. With the addition of scientists from the Germa family headed by Judge, the research progress has been greatly accelerated. The genetic hybrid organisms that were originally only in theory have been in the first 2 days. It was cultivated at one time, but unfortunately, it is not a simple matter to harmonize the genes of several completely different organisms together to form a single organism. At the very least, it was much more difficult to deal with than Paso's temporarily altered gene-enhanced gummies and Judge's androids. The biological knowledge cultivated survived for a few minutes before the whole body cracked, and finally burst into a pool of blood. This group of researchers is trying to figure out which step went wrong. Go away, Doctor. Vlad said, bring the Paso. It's a meeting. Understood. Luo nodded, stretched out his right hand, and a ring-like airflow began to surround his palm. Something spread out in an instant, but when I looked around carefully, I could only find that there was no change in the surroundings. Oh, awesome, Doctor. Vlad exclaimed, is it easy to cover such a large area? It is true that nothing can be seen in the laboratory, but if it is viewed from outside the shrine, the nearby forest, including the shrine, has been covered by a translucent spherical space. It's fine. Luo said softly. Scoff. In an instant, Luo's figure disappeared in front of Vlad, But, just a moment later, Luo's figure had reappeared in Vlad's next year, and the one who appeared with him had a very serious expression, looking at Paso on the ground. Gentlemen. Luo put his hand on Vlad's shoulder, and Vlad finally turned back to the Germa family and said, "Be honest." Whoosh. The three instantly disappeared into the laboratory. Damn, fire dragon. Crowd. Judge gritted his teeth fiercely, and then he didn't know what to think. His expression suddenly relaxed. Maybe. Dash 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 dash. Captain, that idiot seems to be trying to do something wrong. Beside the large long table, Enel put his head in his hands and smiled. Leave him alone. Of course Vlad knew who he was talking about and didn't care. That old boy can't make waves. Yes. Enel didn't think there was anything wrong with what Vlad said. So, Captain. Vlad's right hand, the chef said, what's the matter? Well, there really is something to say about it. Vlad casually threw the replica fruit on the table and said casually, this is what I got when I went out this time, because it is very precious, so whoever eats it. Vlad briefly introduced the ability to copy the fruit, so, who eats it? Samurai, Paso, bear. Copy fruit. Serena's eyes seemed to glow. What a powerful ability. Indeed. Maid nodded, it's really too wasteful to attach such an ability to a dead thing, and you have to find someone to eat it before you can make good use of it. That's right. Chef echoed, this fruit has a strong strategic significance, and it is true that its ownership cannot be simply determined. So. Vlad looked around and whispered, what's your opinion? I'll let it go. Sakata said casually, his hands were already on the two knives leaning on the chair, as long as I have knives in my hand, that's enough. K. Understood. Vlad waved his hand. Next, Paso, what do you say? Quote. Paso stared blankly at the table, not knowing what he was thinking. Huh. Is it? Ahahaha, I figured it out. The man suddenly jumped up and strode out of the room. Crack. Vlad slapped himself on the face, and said with shame, I'm really stupid, otherwise I would have thought of discussing things with this guy. Forget it, then there is nothing to think about. Vlad casually threw the copy fruit to Babo, who was bewildered, and said casually, I'll give it to you, bear. The white bear was a little stunned. Then. Vlad raised his fingers and said solemnly. I am also a little hesitant about the second issue. Should we just enter the new world? I always think it's too early, but now, the four emperors are not out of reach. So. Vlad's words were like a bomb going off in the room. What do you think? Chapter 430 Go and Big News. What do you think? Vlad asked, and just one sentence made the air in the room instantly freeze. This is indeed not a trivial matter. It is a matter of course for everyone to gather together for a meeting. At least, no one thinks that Vlad is now. What did wrong? Wow, this person really said something amazing with a calm face. Miss Musician's eyes widened, and she looked a little overwhelmed. I thought it was just to discuss the ownership of that devil fruit. Why is it such a serious issue? Really? Vlad scratched his short hair a little embarrassed, and his tone was a little guilty. Actually, I also feel a little awkward, but I also think it's almost the same, right? To put it simply, Vlad doesn't want to play anymore. He feels that he doesn't need to develop in a wretched way anymore, and he can go play a wave. Indeed. The chef put his hands around his chest and nodded in approval. It's almost the same. The strength has been accumulated almost. We already have the strength to impact the world pattern, and even change this sea. The four emperors aloof are no longer unattainable for us. Says the chef, it's not something we can't do to replace it, because we're strong too. What are the four emperors? The four largest pirate groups in the world, each of which is an important part of the balance of the world. The so-called country is really too small in front of these guys. It can even be said that every senior cadre of the four emperor pirates possess the power of destroying the country. There are as many ambitions in the sea as the ambitions who want to push the 4 emperors down from the throne, but those 4 monsters can still dominate the new world and are unmatched. Among their enemies, they can still live well, only more. The mighty marine headquarters. However, even the 4 emperors' pirates are no longer out of reach for the Hualong gang, just as the chef said, because they are strong enough. Except for the 4 emperors, Vlad really couldn't think of another pirate group that could rival them. But, Captain, I think you should understand that we are strong, but obviously the 4 emperors are even stronger. If we fight head-on. The maid slowly exhaled a ring of smoke and wrote lightly, our odds of winning are quite low. That's right. Vlad nodded in agreement. Of course I know that there is still a certain gap in terms of the number of high-level combat power, the number of low-level combat power, and even the combat power between me and the 4th emperor himself, but, although there is a gap, but it doesn't mean that you can't let go. Although the 4 emperors are strong, they are not invincible. Vlad said, or should be, the weakness of the 4 emperors is more obvious. Same as the top strongman, what is the biggest difference between the 4 emperors and Admiral? Vlad believes that it is special. The 4 emperors are all special. Whitebeard's terrifying destructive power, the red hair's amazing swordsmanship, Kaido's monster-like vitality, and Ant's indestructible defense power, these are all that the admirals do not have. But where are the admirals winning? It is average. The current 3 admiral does not seem to stand out from the 4 emperors, but it is easy to see that these 3 guys have no weaknesses. Fighting technique, hockey, fruit, physical strength, they are all top-level strong. Want to beat they are not an easy thing to do. However, the 4 emperors who seem to be stronger actually have various weaknesses. Whitebeard is ill and unable to fight for a long time. The Ant is addicted to sweets and can easily go mad. Kaido is a hopeless loner. He can't dodge the enemy's attack, and the only normal redhead is also a broken hand, which is a bit inconvenient. Therefore, as long as the operation is done properly, it is not impossible to overthrow one of the 4 emperors. At least, Vlad believes that with the strength of the Fire Dragon pirates, not to mention the other 3, the Big Mom group is very interesting. After all, Bej and Straw Hat, who are not supernovas, have already written the strategy to him. This is the plan he told Tessero at the beginning to pull Charlotte Linlin down from the throne. At least, I'm still pretty confident in pulling Charlotte Linlin off the horse. Vlad said so. Not bad. Sakata smiled. There must be powerful swordsmen on the ship of the 4 emperors, right? So. Miss Serena said excitedly, will we become the new 4 emperors? 4 emperors. Yahaha, hey, how much do you despise our captain? Enno laughed loudly. What are the 4 emperors? Our captain is going to be the man of One Piece, king of pirates. Can the mere 4 emperors satisfy us? That's right. Vlad nodded approvingly. Our goal should be One Piece, king of pirates from the very beginning. The 4 emperors are completely meaningless. I have nothing to do with being a pole of the world and maintaining the balance of the world. Interest. Quote. Once again, Uncle Vlad's ambition is only to become One Piece, king of pirates. In comparison, the 4 emperors are indeed a little small. The purpose of Vlad's expansion of power is not to occupy territory, but purely for the future. Perhaps an attack from the government will come. But, Captain, have you ever thought? Leaning on the back of the chair, Luo said in a deep voice, we have pulled one of the 4 emperors down from the throne, but if we don't occupy the position of the 4 emperors, there will be a vacancy, and the unprecedented fierce pirate merger will probably start from this. The 4 emperors will be the biggest beneficiaries of them. And what does this mean? Even if Whitebeard and the Red Hair are not interested in the hegemony, they will definitely join for self-protection. In this way, the fall of the big pirates will inevitably lead to the crazy expansion of the power of the other 3 emperors, which is very important for us. It's not a good thing to say. Hey tilde, that seems to be the case. Charlotte Linlin is really pulled down now, then it is not a good thing for Vlad to occupy her original sphere of influence. If you do, he will naturally become with the new 4 emperors, as the weakest of the 4 emperors. There should not be too many flies who want to attack him, and the guy Kaido may also take the opportunity to do things. If he didn't occupy it, it would be even more troublesome. The battle power of the remaining 4 emperors would expand wildly, forming a more stable triangular structure. It would be difficult for him to step in. Ah, it's because we're not strong enough yet. Vlad sighed that the fire dragon pirates are already very strong now, so strong that there is a high probability that they can push the 4 emperors from the throne through some means, but if they fight head-on, there is still some gap. Vlad would not be so troubled if he had the strength to fight and win. Forget it, let's just hang on for a while. Vlad stood up sullenly. Everyone, try to become stronger. The meeting is over. The excited meeting ended in vain. Vlad was a little tired. Fortunately, although this kind of tiredness lasted for a while, it didn't last forever. After a while, the big news from Tesoro gave Vlad a jolt of spirit. Chapter 431 The Defeated Wuhai and Someone's Actions. One day, it was a sunny day. Vlad lay leisurely on the reclining chair on the top of the shrine and fell asleep in the afternoon. There was nothing to do recently, so Vlad was also very leisurely, eating and sleeping every day. X23 US. Com updates fastest. There is a sunshade on the deck chair. Everything on Sky Island is good, but there are no clouds and can't cover the sun. Vlad didn't want to be tanned like a nigger. Boom. Vlad moved his ears and rolled over. Boom. Vlad's eyes moved under his lids. Boom rumble. It's not over. Very angry, Vlad sat up, pulled open the sunshade and looked up at the sky. Above the sky, it was clear, but occasionally there would be lightning flashes accompanied by dull sounds. God, can't you let me take a good nap? Captain, let's exercise well, but we end up sleeping here. With a very calm man's voice, the chef came up. Are you really okay? Oh, thank you so much. Chef, it's so reliable. Vlad shouted and took his after-sleep dessert from the chef's mobile phone. Although he said so, he actually prepared dessert for him. Well. Digging a large spoonful of shaved ice into his mouth, Vlad's body trembled visibly, and then he let out a big sigh of relief, looking very comfortable. My current strength has reached the point where exercise doesn't help at all. So it's better to take a good rest. Human beings have limits, and Vlad's current strength has reached his own limit. Ding ding. Vlad tapped the mouth of the cup with a spoon and said, if I want to become stronger, I have to fight again. I need a strong opponent. Vlad can feel that if he wants to go further, he has to rely on fruit awakening. He is stuck at this step now. This is not something that can be done by self-cultivation. I envy you and God so much. Vlad sighed, looking at the thunder light surging above the sky. If the strength is close to being able to fight each other, I can't do it, so if you can awaken me, I can't do it. Really, I'm eager to wake up too. What does the awakening of dragon fruit represent? Unlimited physical strength, which means that Zhu Rong's only weakness has also been cut, and the era when the 4 emperors on the front are not weak at all is coming. It won't be long. The chef smiled. Of course he thought that his captain would not be trapped by such difficulties. Hee hee. Vlad took the spoon. I think so too. Blue blue blue. It was at this time that the phone worm rang in Vlad's pocket. Well. Click. Vlad took out the phone bug in surprise and answered the phone. Hey, Tesoro, any big news? Of course it was Tesoro who called. Vlad, who was on the Sky Island, was basically blind because the news bird could not fly up. To get the latest information on the sea, of course, he had to rely on his own good. My friend, Tesoro-sama. Ha 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 ha, this is really big news, Vlad. Tesoro's voice can be said to be very excited. Don't lie to me. Vlad leisurely stuffed a spoonful of smoothie into his mouth again. You said the same thing last time in West Blue's Kingdom Revolution. That's the big news, isn't it? Tesoro countered. Of course, even that event was far from the big news this time. Yeah, is that so? Vlad was interested. Let's hear it. That sand crocodile was pulled down by a fledgling pirate newcomer. It was yesterday. That's it. Vlad's eyes gradually lit up. this is really big news. Did it still end up being killed? I thought this guy would change his life with the hockey patch, Vlad thought to himself. Dash 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 dash. Damn crocodile, did such a thing behind our backs. Marine headquarters, as is customary, Sengoku the Buddha smashed the solid wood table in front of him again, with an expression of extreme anger on his face. Pluto, that idiot, can something like Pluto get his hands on him? Thanks to him, Alabasta has been turned into a pot of porridge. Pirates are just pirates after all. Garp the Fist, who sat across from Sengoku, but another man who was equally powerful. I said earlier, Shichibukai shouldn't exist. Is it the time to talk about this? Akainu. Sengoku's anger has not subsided. It's better to think about how to weaken the impact of this incident, rather than these meaningless words. The pirates stealing the country, the government's credibility, Marine's face, were all slapped by that bastard. No more. Quote. One of the founding countries of the government was almost usurped by pirates under the government, and in the end, it was only by relying on another group of pirates to settle the incident. Sengoku was furious. Marine is doing nothing, the government is inattentive, justice has been trampled to the ground. Put away such cheap justice. Don't take it out for shame. Codename Akainu was also in a bad mood. Without the determination to eradicate all evil and the will to carry out justice to the end, isn't it natural to have such a result? What do you mean, Akainu? Sengoku exclaimed. Isn't the fact that the situation is so serious because of the government's connivance? Akainu looked disdainful. That idiot the crocodile is interested in Pluto. Are the idiots above not interested in Pluto? Because there is no way to shoot directly, so let the crocodile act, isn't it obvious? Enough, Akainu. Sengoku roared, show me your identity. Get me that smoker bastard. Sengoku picked up the phone bug on the side and said loudly, it's no longer possible for him to go his own way at this time. Duh. Akainu stood up and walked towards the door. Akainu, you bastard, where are you going? Sengoku roared. New World. Akainu coldly dropped a word and walked away without looking back. This bastard can go to the New World. Kuzan. Sengoku suddenly remembered that there was a guy who hadn't shown up in a while. Where's that guy? Damn bastards, everyone is bastards. Not long after, such a roar resounded through Marineford, Marine headquarters, and today was as peaceful as ever. Somewhere on the sea in the paradise, an ice road that spread from nowhere drifted on the sea, and the man riding a bicycle looked weak, as if he would fall asleep at any time. Ah la la, it's really bothering me, Nico Robin. Chapter 432 Unrecognizable Drama. In the first half of the Great Route, a small boat was slowly moving forward in a certain area of the sea area called Paradise by the people of the New World. X23 US. Com updates fastest. It is really a small boat. It is very small. Even if it is a small boat that carries a dozen people, it will be a little crowded. It has a single mast structure, and there is a jib near the stern. An orange tree, what a bunch of guys with great ideas. The position of the bow is a sheep's head, which is quite recognizable. It is a pirate ship. The huge skull head is painted on the sail. There is a scar on the left eyelid, and there is a straw hat on the head. It looks a little funny, and for pirates who want their deterrent power to be as strong as possible, such a cute pirate flag can be said to be very non-mainstream. The name of the ship is Going Merry, the name of the pirates is Straw Hat Pirates, and the captain's name is Straw Hat Luffy, Monkeyed Luffy. Very inconspicuous ship, very inconspicuous flag, very inconspicuous pirate group, very inconspicuous group of people. The only special thing may be that this ship has two names with D-Man. However, it is such an inconspicuous group of people who defeated the big villains who were entrenched in Alabasta not long ago, the original King Shichibukai, the Sand Crocodile, and the crocodile who were trying to usurp the country. It is really unimaginable. None of Shichibukai is a simple guy. As a group of people who mix well between the four groups of the four emperors and the marine headquarters, these guys are the smartest people living in the world. However, this does not mean that the King Shichibukai will lack force. In fact, as the third largest force that the government considers to be able to balance the four emperors and the marine headquarters, each of these guys has the ability to suppress the absolute power in this sea. The power of most pirates. However, the sand crocodile, one of such Kings Shichibukai, was killed by this boat guy not long ago. This is a major event that has never been seen since the founding of Shichibukai. Hey, it tastes really good. But after eating it a few times, you will find it delicious. On the boat, the voice of the man who was very amazed came out like this. Hee, of course. A man's voice full of energy, Sanji is my cook. Hey, Luffy, you bastard. The man who spoke before was very angry. How many times have I said it? This is my flesh. Huh, what are you talking about? With some effort, his mouth chewed the huge chunk of meat in his mouth. The man with the straw hat looked to the side with his eyes fluttering, his mouth pouted. Damn, no one ever told you that you guy can't lie at all. The man with some freckles on his upper body jumped up and tore the mouth of the straw hat directly. Bastard, spit it out for me. Really, Mr. Ace, leave him alone. With a cigarette in his mouth and a large plate in his hand, the blond man slammed into the head of his own captain with a fistful of barbecue meat on it, then put the plate on the table, and exhaled a smoke ring. He smiled and said, if you want food, you can have as much as you want. Oh, thank you so much. Although he was very rude to Luffy, he was very polite to others. Mr. Sanji. Nothing. Smiled, without Mr. Ace, our voyage would have ended in Alabasta. Hey, Sanji, what are you talking about? The straw hat that was smashed to the ground by his own cook straightened up and said dissatisfiedly, without Ace, I could have knocked that crocodile bastard away by myself. What are you talking about? You bastard. Ace put his big hand on his brother's head. Don't give me such a risk in the future. Luffy. No way. Straw Hat said, that guy is so annoying. He got in my way. I really didn't expect it. On the other side, the two women who were sitting together were also communicating. The woman with short orange hair was still in disbelief. Luffy actually has such a brother. Famous. The black-haired woman smiled, the captain of the 2nd Division of the Whitebeard Pirates, the world-renowned great pirate. Whitebeard. The man with green hair sitting next to the two took a sip of wine into his mouth. I've heard of that man, the strongest man in the world. Whitebeard. The tall, very thin figure seemed to be recalling something. It seems that there was such a newcomer back then. Was it called Newgate? Yo ho 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 ho. Anyway, thank him. The man with the long nose still looked a little scared, if it wasn't for him. It's the first time I've seen Luffy hurt that badly. The reindeer, who seemed to be very short, couldn't help holding the glass full of juice in front of him. Without him, Luffy will die. Time went back to more than a week ago. The location was Alabasta, the capital, Albana. A rebellion that swept the country has come to an end. The rebel army and the king started a decisive battle relying on Albana, which decided the country's fate. The final battle of the direction broke out like this. However, the undercurrent that truly decided the fate of this country also fought a decisive battle with a group of pirates who risked their lives for the sake of their comrades. The Baroque Works Room, led by Crocodile, one of the king's Shichibukai, and the rookie pirates, the Straw Hat Pirates, were only a dozen or so, but it was such a group of people that really determined the direction of the country. Now, the battle in other places has come to an end, but there is only one place where the battle has not yet come to an end. I was stabbed once in the chest. The man with a messy hair and an extremely excited expression shouted, the water was sucked dry once, and the body was poisoned. Why don't you want to die? Hoo. Breathing very fast, his vision was a little blurry, and the man with blood flowing all over his body stood very steady. Scoff. The fist was slammed back, and it stretched out like a whip. Because, you man, really. The man's name is Straw Hat Luffy, a rookie pirate with wide-eyed eyes, incomparable anger gathering in his eyes. To trample on other people's treasures like weeds, hide in dark corners and play conspiracy, a guy like you. Whoosh. Like a pistol, the man's fist slammed out. It's so annoying. Crack. He easily caught the man's fist, and Crocodile's hand was filled with invisible fluctuations. Damn. The Straw Hat, who sensed something bad, stomped on his feet and rushed forward like lightning, and his legs swept towards Crocodile like a whip. Crack. Crocodile instantly turned into a pile of gravel, drifted aside, and then condensed into shape. It's obviously bloody, why can't I hit it? Straw Hat Luffy gritted his teeth. The Straw Hat was very helpless. Obviously the weakness of the crocodile was water, but even if his hands were wet, he couldn't hurt him. That guy's body had invisible fluctuations, which could block his own attacks. At the same time, that guy is like a prophet who can predict, and his attacks rarely work. Call. Slowly heaving a sigh of relief, Crocodile somewhat recovered from the blow of years of failed planning. I'll admit it, Straw Hat Luffy, you are really not an ordinary pirate, maybe you will become a great guy in the future, so. Full force. Crocodile's eyes narrowed, kill you. Cut. Straw Hat clenched his fists. Wow. Crocodile instantly turned into a piece of sand and swept toward the Straw Hat. Ah. Eyes were a little blocked, but, right away, Luffy had noticed that the sand crocodile had gathered behind him. Rubber tempest. Turning back in an instant, the fist has turned into a storm, and it slammed into the sand crocodile like Gatling. Clap 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 clap. There were continuous blows, but the Straw Hat's fist hit sand crocodile with no effect, and the invisible wave completely resisted his attack. Stupid, how can you be my opponent, who hockey doesn't know? The crocodile raised the dagger in his left hand, sleep here forever. Straw Hat. Clap clap clap. Musket. The body of the sand crocodile shattered instantly, turning into a piece of gravel, moving rapidly, and converging in the distance. Hey Crocodile, what do you want to do to someone else's brother? Chapter 433 Target, Jaya Island. Why? The man was furious, panting, and his body was in a state of embarrassment. On his right hand, sand and dust were lingering, mixing into a small sand tornado. Whitebeard pirates, the captain of the 2nd Division will come here to fight against me. With a sudden flick of the right hand, a huge sand tornado was formed in an instant. In such a small space, this was a terrorist attack that could destroy everything. Salin. Because. Now opposite him, the man with the raging flames on his arm also has some serious injuries, but there is still a slight smile on his face. I'm a brother. Crocodile, don't you? Do you still want me to lose my only brother? Fire fist. The arm instantly turned into flames, and a fist was swung out. The fist immediately swelled into a huge incomparable flaming fist, and slammed heavily on Crocodile's echelon. There. The flames were intertwined with the sand, and the bright firelight instantly illuminated the somewhat dim underground space. Damn it, it's hard to deal with. Crocodile cursed in annoyance. The battle with Ace had been going on for a long time. The two Logia-capable players fought against each other. In the absence of restraint factors, they wanted to win and lose and use them all in close proximity. Hockey fights, and the pure ability to bang can't hurt the opponent at all, it's just a futile consumption of stamina. The time has dragged on, and now even using ability attacks is a little powerless. Luffy. Ace suddenly yelled. Crocodile was alone but he wasn't. What? Crocodile raised his head suddenly. Above the sky, the Straw Hat Luffy was ready to go, his right leg was raised high. Rubber, tomahawk. With the strong elasticity generated by the extension, the leg that could easily shatter the boulder had already slammed towards Crocodile. Cut. Woo. With a secret curse, Crocodile instantly activated elementalization, and his body began to gradually turn into grains of sand. Don't think about it. Shouting like this, Ace is like the most agile cheetah on the grassland. In the blink of an eye, he has rushed into Crocodile's eyes, and a heavy punch has already slammed into him. Above the fist, the dark hockey is entangled. Damn. Crocodile gritted his teeth. If he continued to be elemental, he would definitely be taught to be a man by Ace's punch. His observation hockey had not yet reached the level of predicting the opponent's attack and moving his body in advance. Bang bang. With two loud bangs, Ace's fist and the crocodile's fist collided heavily, and at the same time, Luffy's foot also stomped on the crocodile's back. Ah! With a scream, the crocodile couldn't help spurting out a mouthful of blood, and the powerful force contained in the powerful blow of the straw hat couldn't stand even for him, and instantly fell to the ground. Hit, not blocked. Above the sky, Luffy looked surprised. As hockey not enough? Ace guessed so. After all, the crocodiles had been fighting them for a long time before, and he was very tired. So, now, Luffy. Oh. Rubber, tempest. Like a real storm, countless fists fell from the sky. The battle of the Alabasta kleptocratic state came to an end. Speaking of which, Ace. The straw hat, who had been eating happily, suddenly came back to his senses and asked in surprise, "Why are you on my boat?" It took more than a week to remember to ask this question. Ace couldn't help but slapped himself on the forehead, looking a little speechless. "Luffy, you really haven't changed at all. Speaking of which, I'm also curious." Sanji, who was sitting beside him, also asked curiously, "Why did Mr. Ace take our boat?" Didn't I say that?" Ace said in a daze. "Not at all." Vivi twitched at the corner of Sanji's mouth, and now he fully believed that this guy was indeed Luffy's brother. "Ahahaha, that's it." Ace scratched his head and laughed. "It's not something that can't be said. I'm looking for a man." "What kind of guy?" The swordsman who was drinking heavily turned his head and asked curiously. "The man who can let the captain of the 2nd Division of the Whitebeard Pirates personally take action must be an incredible guy." "Yes." Ace nodded. "He is indeed a very powerful guy. That guy is one of the king's Shichibukai, the fire dragon Vlad." Shichibukai. Miss Navigator, who was really taken aback, exclaimed, "Is that a crocodile-like person? A terrifying guy like a monster? Mr. Ace, is Mr. Ace looking for such a terrible guy?" Also shivering were the long nose and the civet cat. "Don't worry, Ace is also super strong." Luffy laughed giggling, and was very relieved about his brother's strength. "Yes, I'm strong too, and..." Ace smiled. "I'm not looking for him this time for a fight." Fire Dragon. Sanji lit a cigarette. "I had a relationship with him, and it's not like Crocodile, so, Mr. Ace. Is the dragon right in front of our ship?" "I don't know." Ace shook his head and replied, "I will take your boat because Miss Robin told me that fire dragons appeared in the waters near Jaya Island not long ago, so I want to try my luck." Robin sauce. Sanji turned his head in surprise, and the beautiful woman returned a gentle smile. "Miss Robin." The heart-wrenching chef put everything behind him in an instant. "Hey, I'm scared to death. I thought I was going to deal with Shichibukai under the king soon." Miss Navigator breathed a sigh of relief. "Don't worry, Miss Nami. There was only one skeleton left, but the guy who could still eat and sleep said, Mr. Vlad is not a bad person." "Huh, has Brooke ever seen a dragon?" Nami was surprised. "Yo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Yes. Just as Going Merry keeps heading towards Jaya Island, a certain man is heading towards the same place." An unacceptable sight, the sleepy-eyed man riding a bicycle leisurely on the sea. "On the way to Jaya Island, it's so far, I really want to take a vacation and get some sleep." Nicole Robin. After making a mess of Alabasta, he joined another pirate group. The man's name is Kuzan, code-named Kuzan, the highest combat power of the Marine headquarters, one of the 3 admiral. "Ah, It's really troublesome. Is the captain still Mr. Garp's grandson? It's so annoying, just erase everything. For the convenience of reading next time, you can bookmark at the top to record the reading record of this time, Chapter 4, 33 Objective, Jaya Island, and you can see it when you open the bookshelf next time. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Lan, thank you for your support. Chapter 434 Phone Calls and Encounters. Blue. Quote. Vlad lay on the reclining chair to take a nap as always, when suddenly, such a voice rang, and the maid came up with a phone bug in her hand. X23 US. Com updates fastest. Captain, don't sleep, call. With a cigarette in her mouth, the maid stretched out her hand and pushed the sleeping Vlad. Me. What? Vlad opened his eyes in a daze, and then saw the calm face of the maid. Captain, call, from. Maid whispered, Marine Headquarters. Huh. Ah. He yelled angrily, can't you just let me get a good night's sleep? Damn it. These bastards. Enel 2, Tessero 2, is Sengoku on the other side of the phone now? The guy. Although you say so. The maid twitched the corners of her mouth, ignoring her captain's anger. So, why don't you pick it up? Yes, why not take it? Vlad took the phone bug from the maid's hand and said, I probably know what Sengoku wants to say, but, at such a heavy price for being disturbed in the afternoon nap, why should I have a few words with him? Huh. Click. Vlad picked up the phone. Hello, who is that? It's me. A very deep man's voice. Deep in it is deep anger. Yeah, is that Clark? Vlad replied lazily, I've said it many times. My family has already subscribed to the World Economic News. There is no need to call. We will not subscribe to your family's newspaper. Quote. After a short silence, the man over the phone said, Hulong, don't play stupid, it's me. Why, isn't that Mr. Clark? Vlad had a playful smile on his face, but his tone was very confused. Is that Mr. Kakarot? I'm also sorry, we don't order milk either. Fire Dragon, do you really want to die? Sengoku may be a good-natured person, but his position will never allow him to be good-natured, especially when facing Shichibukai like Vlad. If so, I can make you happy. Hey, there's no sense of humor at all, Mr. Sengoku. Vlad languidly said, I feel so exhausted talking to you. Also, what if I answer, yes, what do you want? What did you say? Sengoku's voice suddenly turned cold. I said, if I said I wanted to die. Vlad's mouth twitched. What can you do? Quote. Silence, dead silence. Hey, what a pity. Martial Marine, that's amazing. Vlad smiled, scared me. World who can talk to Sengoku is Shichibukai. The four emperors have no chance to talk to Sengoku. Other pirates are not qualified, only Shichibukai like Vlad, who has a government background, even Sengoku take them too. I'm not in the mood to give you so much nonsense. Sengoku's tone was unwavering, and there was no sign of being provoked. This man was able to become Martial Marine not only with strong force, but also with deep wisdom. Have you heard about the crocodile? Of course, heard. Vlad looked very emotional. I really can't think of it. That guy was actually caught, puff. Ha 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 ha. Vlad laughed loudly. I was pulled off the horse by a newcomer. Almost made me laugh. Mr. Sengoku, can you understand? It's like a wild wolf was suddenly killed by a newly weaned puppy. Alabasta's crime has been exposed and is now on his way to impel down, so Shichibukai's place will be vacated. Sengoku ignored Vlad's words and said to himself, the Shichibukai meeting will be held in Mariajoy in a week to discuss the successor. Huh, I don't care about that. Vlad smiled. Isn't this kind of thing decided by the government? It's up to you whether you come or not. I'm just passing on the message. Sengoku hung up the phone, and could see that talking to Vlad was indeed a very disgusting thing for him. Hey, Shichibukai meeting. Vlad smiled and threw the phone bug into the maid's arms. It's funny. Is it okay not to go? The maid asked. It's okay. Vlad stretched his waist. This is not something we can decide. It's just a meal when we go. It's boring. You are the captain, you have the final say. The maid shrugged and said casually. So, the time has come for the Shichibukai meeting, so. Vlad smiled. Should we come up? Dash 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 dash. Under Sky Island, Jaya Island, there are also people who are about to meet. Wow, this is Jaya Island. It's not a prosperous island, and the Straw Hat looks amazed. Hee hee, that's amazing. Are all the people here pirates? Hey, Luffy, shall we go back? Hiding tightly behind his captain, the long-nosed man's face was covered in cold sweat. These guys are all ferocious pirates. No, I haven't asked anyone about Sky Island yet. Luffy didn't care about his partner's words at all. His eyes seemed to be flashing. Hee hee, Sky Island, just thinking about it makes me look forward to it. It's over. Usopp burst into tears. He knew that as long as this guy Luffy became interested, he would never look back. Why should I follow this guy out? Wouldn't it be great to stay on the boat with Nami and the others? It's better to follow Zoro, Sanji or Mr. Ace and Brook than to follow Luffy. Mr. Ace. Ignoring the terrified rest of the people around him, Brook, who had only a handful of bones left, asked curiously, does Sky Island really exist? Ahahaha, to be honest, I don't know either. I haven't been here either. Ace nodded. However, the pointer can't go wrong. Since the pointer points to the sky, there must be an island above the sky. Yo ho ho ho, this sea is so amazing. Brook smiled oddly. Sure enough, it's a good idea to follow Mr. Luffy out on an adventure. Hey, look, is that guy asleep? Ace suddenly heard such a voice, and turned his head curiously, so he saw a very strange scene. The tall man stood motionless in the middle of the road, his head was tilted, and he wore a blindfold over his eyes. He could hear a clear snoring sound even from a distance. It seemed that this guy was sleeping peacefully. Ahahaha, it seems that someone who knows the location of the fire dragon has been discovered. Ace suddenly laughed like this. Okay, Mr. Brook, I won't be with you anymore. Hey, it's really bothering you all this way. Brook looked a little dumbfounded. Goodbye. Ace waved his hand, turned his head and walked away. Please tell me and Luffy, if you don't catch up with that guy, maybe he will run away. I won't go back. By the way, go back and tell Luffy, don't stay in this place, stop, leave as soon as possible to continue his adventure. Hey, I hope to meet him again in the new world. Huh. In the end, Brook heard Ace say that. Please, Mr. Brook, Luffy. I'll leave it to you. Oh. Brook watched Ace go away in a dazed way. Hey, wake up. Brook had heard such a voice, and he was also very interested in the man who could fall asleep standing on the street. Ho 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 ho, it's so interesting. Little brother, are you waking up? He said so. Yes. The man slowly pushed the blindfold up to his head, not waking up at all, yawned and rubbed his eyes, because I met a big surprise. Yo ho ho ho, there is a surprise just after waking up. Brook smiled, that's a good thing. Yes. The man slowly stepped forward, without looking back, he waved his hand. So, you have to cherish the opportunity. Chapter 435 Ice and Fire. Ah, it's a tavern. The man in the straw hat smiled and pointed to a tavern that suddenly appeared around the corner. Usopp, let's go in and have a look. There will definitely be news about Sky Island. X23 US.com is the fastest update. This sentence has the meaning of negotiation, but the person who said this sentence has no intention of such negotiation at all. He strode forward and pushed open the door of the bar. I knew it. The man with the long nose burst into tears, and the nose that was usually upturned is now drooping down, and those who follow his heart are equally unmotivated. Luffy, wait for me. Usopp has already accepted his fate. In this place full of pirates, instead of staying alone in a relatively safe place, it is better to follow behind his captain. After all, ghosts know whether the so-called safe place is really safe. On the contrary, it is very safe to follow behind Luffy. Squeak. The wooden door was gently pushed open, and a loud voice came in instantly. The man with the straw hat on his head looked around curiously and strode into the tavern. Some men with long noses followed him carefully. Behind. "Yeah, this is the pirate tavern." The straw hat grinned and looked very excited. "It's really all pirates." "What, here comes a kid." The pirates who were bragging and farting in the hotel didn't care too much. These days, anyone can go out to sea, and there are as many pirates in the sea as straw hats. The straw hat was swaying, and he casually walked to the bar and sat down. Usopp, who was a little scared, hugged his right hand and sat beside him. "Hey, uncle." Luffy said so. Just ask." Usopp on the side was dumbfounded. Shouldn't it be a little more secret? "Well, guest." The bar owner, who was wiping his glass, raised his head. "I'm hungry, do you have anything to eat?" Buttoned his nostrils, the straw hat said. "That's it." The long nose, the eyes bulging out, and the sharp teeth in the mouth, this is a skill shared by the straw hat pirates, usually triggered by their captain's offline behavior. "It turned out to be like this. Didn't you come to seek information? It turned out to be something to eat. Didn't you just eat before disembarking?" "But..." Luffy scratched his head, a little aggrieved. "I'm really hungry." "Da. Call." The owner of the tavern let out a breath of smoke leisurely, put a cherry pie and a glass of wine in front of Luffy, and said with a smile, "If you're hungry, you have to eat, isn't that the easiest way? Man on the sea, think just do it." He. With a smile on his face, the straw hat picked up the cherry pie in front of him and shoved it into his mouth. "The boss is a good man." Yuck. But after the blink of an eye, the bright smile on the straw hat's face disappeared in an instant, replaced by a disgusting expression. "Wow. It's so unpalatable." "Hey, no matter how unpalatable it is." The boss stared at the dead fish and flicked the soot. "Anyway, save me some face." Delicious. Usopp was already stunned. It was the first time he saw something Luffy said was unpalatable. Is such a thing really possible? It's so unpalatable. Luffy stuck out his tongue, his face darkened. Gudong. He picked up the wine glass next to him and poured 2 sips of wine into his mouth. Then, the man put on a happy smile once. "Yeah, Da." After drinking the wine in the glass in one breath, the straw hat said excitedly, "It's so delicious." "Hey, boss, your wine is so delicious." "Really?" The boss twitched his lips. His cherry pie and homemade wine have been selling for a long time. Cherry pie has never been rated as unpalatable, and wine has never been said to be super delicious. Got 2 very different evaluations, which can be said to be very interesting. As long as the guests are happy. He. Luffy smiled and handed the cup. "One more cup." "Okay. Anyway, as long as it can be sold." The boss poured another glass of wine for the straw hat. "Well, that's right." Straw Hat took another sip of wine, then suddenly remembered something, slapped both hands on the counter. "Boss, do you know Sky Island?" "I just remembered." Usopp muttered silently. "Sky Island." The boss didn't seem to care too much. "Is it another person who wants to board Sky Island?" Straw Hat blinked. Dash. Time goes back a little bit, probably a day after the Straw Hats landed on Jaya Island, on an unnamed deserted island far away from Jaya Island. The man named Ace was sitting leisurely under a big tree. "Era, don't you run." Some lazy men's voices came from the side, and a tall man walked over step by step. "There is no need to run anymore." Ace stood up, with no sign of fear on his face, even though the man standing in front of him was the strongest army in the world, the man at the top of Marine, who made pirates fear just by his name. The same goes for one of the Endless Marine 3 Admiral, Fire Fist Ace, Fearless. If you feel hopeless and fearful just because the opponent is strong, what are you doing, pirates? Why are you still at sea? Why are you stronger than me and I fear you? Why should you be afraid if you can't win? Ace is not a man of that level, not to mention, he bears the name of that man behind him. Well, good luck. Kuzan, the curly-haired man, scratched his curly black hair, and he didn't hear any emotional change in the lazy pre-adjustment. I was going to wipe out the Straw Hat Gang, but I ended up meeting an even more amazing guy. Ah, no one would have thought that the captain of the 2nd Division of the Whitebeard Pirates would come back to paradise. Is the target really Luffy? Ace had a big smile on his face. That's really lucky. How lucky, to be able to lure you away from him. Sure enough. Kuzan seemed really sleepy, sitting cross-legged on the ground. Is it to protect the Straw Hat Luffy? Ah, because, I am. Ace smiled, brother. Era, what an amazing news. Kuzan's eyes widened. Will the world be frightened if the news spreads? Such an amazing brother. Did the most sinful blood in the world spontaneously gather together? What? Ace took a step back subconsciously, his pupils shrinking sharply. Ah, it's really troublesome. Kuzan seemed really annoyed with his arms around his chest. If you and the Straw Hats are brothers, then you are Mr. Garp's grandson too. Then it's pointless to let the Straw Hats fight because of the bigger gains. Is it because of the old man that he didn't go after Luffy? Ace thought to himself, no wonder Kuzan would follow him leisurely and wander around the sea for a whole day. Is that so? That's good, Luffy. Ace had the brightest smile on his face. If you are sailing, you will be very happy. Yes. Just be happier. Era, forget it, forget it. Kuzan stood up. Since he was ready to hurt Mr. Garp when he came, he couldn't let it go because of a momentary misunderstanding. Isn't it too ugly for Marine Admiral to come out once and get nothing? Porgusty Ace, no. Kuzan raised his right hand, and a white cold air spread from above. Gold Ace, the son of One Piece, king of pirates, the most sinful bloodline in the world. Now, let's capture it. My name is Porgusty Ace. I have only one father and his name is Bear. A huge fist of flames roared out. Whitebeard Chapter 436 Intelligence. Boss, do you know about Sky Island? Usopp's eyes widened involuntarily. He just wanted to ask casually, but now it seems that this bar owner really knows the information of Sky Island. Is the intelligence of Sky Island so popular? Was the previous worry completely unnecessary? Huh. Luffy blinked, then turned his head in surprise. His mouth dropped on the counter. Uncle, do you know about Sky Island? Sky Island. With a faint smile on his face, the uncle slowly exhaled a smoke ring. Looking like an expert in the world, I really don't know how many times I have heard the name. So. Usopp swallowed and asked expectantly, does Sky Island really exist? Huh, isn't that of course? Luffy asked very strangely. Usopp, of course Sky Island exists. The words of Sky Island. The uncle had a strange look on his face, and there was a bit of bitterness in his longing. Of course it exists, right above this island. Does it really exist? Usopp put his hand on his chest, knowing that the trip to Sky Island was imperative. Hee. Luffy put his hand on his straw hat and smiled. Sky Island, I'm really looking forward to it. Just above this island? Usopp asked immediately, but I can't see anything. Of course. Uncle smiled. After all, Sky Island is above the Sea of Clouds 10,000 meters above the sea, so it's weird to see it. 10,000 meters. Usopp's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Does the guest want to go to Sky Island? The boss asked. Well. Luffy nodded and said, of course, I want to go up there and see. I think so too. Boss nodded. Since the news of the existence of Sky Island spread on this island, I don't know how many pirates want to rush to Sky Island to see it. But, Usopp felt something was wrong. No one has succeeded so far. Boss smiled wryly. The problem is, everyone who tried to rush to Sky Island failed. All failed? Usopp asked in surprise. Isn't there a winner? No. Boss shook his head. Since that man rushed to Sky Island a few years ago, the wonderful bell rang in the sky, and the existence of that place spread to this town, who wanted to rush to Sky Island to find the legendary town of Going. There are as many guys as you want, but none of them are successful. Not even Bellamy, the highly anticipated newcomer who came to the island some time ago. Quote. Going Township. The attention of the man named Straw Hat Luffy is completely different from that of ordinary people. Uncle, what is Going Township? The legend. The boss didn't mean to hide, smiled. There is a country full of goings on the sea, and later it was washed up on the Sky Island by the huge ocean currents rising into the sky. That is the town of Going. Hey, hee, I want to see it even more. Luffy's eyes seemed to be glowing. Uncle. Usopp swallowed. What happened to those who wanted to board Sky Island? How is it? The boss glanced at him with a half-smiling smile, and said with a smile, if you want to fly to the Sky Island, which is 10,000 meters above the blue sea, of course you can't use ordinary methods. There is only one method that pirates can use. It is to fly into the sky by riding the huge soaring ocean current that sent Going Township to the sky. Little brother, you said. Besides the problem, what will happen in the sky where I don't know how high? Usopp fought a cold war and couldn't help but said, isn't that all dead? Yes. The boss nodded with a look of sigh, but even so, every time the sky and ocean currents erupt, there are still a lot of people who want to gamble. How could? Usopp's eyes widened in disbelief. Because it's a pirate. Luffy smiled. Of course pirates yearn for treasure and adventure. Right, Uncle. Perhaps. The boss looked a little surprised. Uncle, you just said that someone rushed to Sky Island a few years ago. How did that person get there? Usopp asked. That person. A glimmer of admiration flashed in the boss's eyes. That was perhaps the most amazing guy he had ever seen in his life. You can't do that person's method. Usopp looked surprised. Why? Why? Boss smiled. Of course it's because that person flew straight up. Fly. Usopp's eyes widened. Ha, fly. Luffy looked very happy. You can fly. Okay, Luffy, let's go back. Usopp wants to make a final effort. Maybe a miracle will happen, and he can make this man change his mind. It's simply impossible to board Sky Island. It's completely impossible. So many pirates have died on the way to Sky Island, so let's not go looking for death. Don't. Just as Usopp imagined, Monkey D. Luffy's men were completely hooked. Sky Island exists. I have to go up and have a look. I knew. The man with the long nose wept silently. I knew it. Luffy smiled. Then, boss. Usopp raised his head and asked, how can I ride that soaring ocean current? Now that the captain has made a decision, of course the crew members will solve all obstacles for him. Just as Luffy will always respond to their beliefs, they will not disappoint the captain's beliefs. Oh Tilda. The boss glanced at them strangely, then said with a smile, if you have really made up your mind, you can go to the Tsuruyama United Army to try. Those guys are professional. Isn't it? Thanks, Uncle. The Straw Hat smiled and thanked him. Nothing. Boss smiled. I don't know how many times I've said the same thing in the past 2 years, and it doesn't matter if I say it again. Of course, the meal money is unavoidable. Although you are already dying, I personally am very willing. Invite you for one last meal, but there are too many guys like you for me to afford. Have you already treated us as dead? Usopp frowned. Hey. I'm not going to die. Straw Hat stood up. I will never die until I become One Piece, King of Pirates. Oh Tilda. The bar owner suddenly felt a little strange. The man in front of him was a little strange. He looked very familiar. Isn't this guy very similar to the man from 2 years ago? That's it. I changed my mind. I'll treat you to this meal. He, then thank you. The uncle who made the cherry pie was hard to eat but the wine was delicious. The straw hat looked overjoyed. Don't give me nicknames. The uncle was obviously not satisfied. Oh, Luffy-san, you are here. The door to the bar was pushed open and the skull stuck its head in. Chapter 437 Creation and Big News. Well, it's not ugly. Vlad crossed his arms and said with some disgust, he couldn't help but take 2 steps back. This guy is so ugly. It's rare to say something I agree with. The man standing behind Vlad also took 2 steps back unconsciously. What appeared in front of him was so ugly that he couldn't bear to look directly. Really ugly. There are such ugly creatures in the world. It's not human beings who are shown in front of Vlad. It is impossible for human beings to be so ugly that both Vlad and Sakata can't stand it. A creature that can make Vlad feel ugly and inaccessible is just like that. It was clearly placed in front of him. In the culture column in front of Vlad, in the dark green culture medium, floating is a creature that Vlad doesn't know at all, or should be said, a creature that has never appeared in this world, with very different in the shape of traditional creatures. It is very bloated and oddly shaped, similar to a crocodile, but relatively more majestic with 6 eyes on its head. Although its body is still very young, it can be clearly seen that its stubby mouth has a hideous appearance. As sharp teeth, thick scales tightly protect its head, like densely packed pimples, which look very infiltrating. The neck is covered with a mane-like thing, floating in the culture medium. Vlad can easily notice that these things that look like hair have nothing like hair. It doesn't look soft at all, but it looks a little pliable. The body parts are even more peculiar. There is absolutely no body shape that ordinary animals should have. It is a mass of meat that seems to be wriggling. It looks really disgusting. Hello, Paso. Vlad has always been a good boy to ask questions. When he saw something he didn't know, he subconsciously asked, is this thing underdeveloped? It doesn't even have limbs. No, it's already in full condition. Paso's tone was calm, but Vlad, who was very familiar with him, could hear obvious excitement from his words. The experiment that lasted for a long time finally came to fruition. He must be very happy, right? Although it looks like this now, but in fact, Paso said, his shape is not fixed. Huh? Vlad looked a little surprised and said, not fixed. What do you mean? It means. Standing next to Paso, Mr. Vinsmoke Judge said with some exclamation, it will change its shape at any time, according to the external environment. Well. Vlad's eyes widened involuntarily, isn't this? Yes, indeed, it is undeniable. Vlad turned his head and saw the feverish light in Judge's eyes. We have created the most perfect creature in the world. Perfect. No. Paso shook his head. Compared to Judge's frenzy, he was at best a little excited. It's still far from perfect. It's just a special beast. Enough, Paso. Vlad smiled, we are humans, not gods. Imperfection is perfect. Vlad thinks so, what can be used well for him is perfect. If it is really a perfect creature, like a guy like Uncle Kaz, will he be subservient to him? Captain, give it a name. Paso said suddenly, the finished product that was made with great difficulty. Name, hee, I'm good at this. Vlad smiled, thought for a while, and replied. Chimera, let's call it Chimera. Yes. Paso nodded, he didn't care about that either. Blue. Quote. It was at this time that the phone bug in Vlad's pocket rang again. Yeah, are there so many things going on recently? Vlad twitched the corners of his mouth, took out the phone bug, and walked out of the lab. Click. Hey, Tessero, what's the big news? Vlad asked carelessly. The person on the other side of the phone bug was naturally Tessero, and he naturally wouldn't feel restrained in the slightest when talking to this man. This time, it's the real breaking news. Tessero's voice sounded astonished, even a little ragged. What? Vlad was taken aback. He couldn't help but be surprised. The news that can make a guy like Tessero so moving must not be a small thing. Just like Tessero said, only the truly groundbreaking news can make him moving. What's the matter? Vlad said solemnly. He had a hunch that what Tessero would say next would definitely surprise him. Vlad, let's cancel the previous plan. Vlad clearly heard Tessero say, suddenly things have gone where we didn't expect. What? Vlad frowned. What are you talking about? What do you mean by plan? I mean the plan to take down Big Mom can be put on hold for now. Tessero said solemnly, because, we have to prepare for bigger waves. The world, it's going to go wild. What the hell happened? Vlad was a little confused. What do you know? Woo. Tessero let out a slow sigh of relief, calmed down his excitement, and said, I just got the news too. The Whitebeard pirates are going to fight Marine. That short sentence exploded in Vlad's mind like a bomb. What did you say? I also don't believe it, but it is indeed the truth. Tessero's surprised voice. This time, war is inevitable. Because that Fire Fist ace was arrested. Fire Fist. Vlad's eyes widened. Ace. Arrested. Vlad was a little stunned. Blackbeard was slaughtered by him. How did Ace get arrested? Could it be that someone rushed aboard the Moby Dick and took Ace in front of Whitebeard? Vlad immediately wanted to slap himself, which no one can do. Yes, just the other day. Tessero explained. Kuzan arrested Fire Fist who was back in the park. The guy is now crouching in Impel Down. Paradise. Vlad frowned. Why did that guy go back to Paradise? He was also met by Kuzan. If you want to ask why. Tessero smiled. Just to find you. Looking for me. Vlad was stunned for a moment, then immediately reacted. Okay, I remember the reason. Of course he knew the reason. Besides the dark fruit and Teach, who had become the sun, was there a third idea? I'm really surprised. Is the government crazy? Tessero's voice revealed surprise. They want to publicly execute Fire Fist. The war between the Whitebeard pirates and Marine is inevitable. This kind of behavior is meaningless. What if the Whitebeard pirates are defeated? The New World still cannot be recovered, and the vacated throne can only intensify the competition of the pirates. Even if Whitebeard is dead, there will still be powerful guys appearing. Tessero put it this way. Going to war now, Marine's losses will not be small, so why not wait until Whitebeard continues to age and lose combat power to go to war? Perhaps. Vlad blinked. The government is really crazy. Chapter 438 Ready with the Current. Just like what Tessero said, fighting with the Whitebeard pirates now is really a disaster for Marine and for the government. Contrary to what many people think, the government and the four emperors are not incompatible existences as imagined, and it is Marine, not the government, that is incompatible with pirates. For the government, the four emperors are not just mere enemies. As the actual rulers of the world, the government's view of problems has been far removed from the level of pure good and evil, camp confrontation, and all the forces that can be used they will not give up. What does the four emperors mean to the government? The four emperors are the four largest pirate groups. They are the four mountains that stand on the heads of all pirates. I don't know how many powerful pirate newcomers have been destroyed in their hands. In a sense, they are still the helpers of the government. It is no joke that the four emperors are one of the three major forces that maintain the balance of the world. Even the strongest Marine seems to be a little powerless in the face of these four sea emperors. So the government recruited Shichibukai, Marine headquarters plus Shichibukai, to check and balance the four emperors of the New World. This is the balance of the three forces. This kind of balance is stable, but it is also fragile. Once one of the four emperors falls, the hyenas at sea will inevitably flood into the sea like crazy, vying for the vacant throne, and the chaos at that time will be more difficult to stop. Also, the weakening of the four emperors means a relative strengthening of Marine's strength, which is not something the government wants to see. In Marine's case, it is better to have a strong enemy. So Tessero said, the government is crazy, even if they defeated the Whitebeard pirates, what would they gain? Take back the New World. Don't be stupid, the other 3 emperors are not vegetarian. Deterring the sea. It's true that this could go a long way, defeating Whitebeard, who has been shaking the sea for decades, and the world is bound to boil over something like this, but the false deterrence built on the weakening of Marine's strength is again, how effective can it be? Tesoro really didn't understand what the government was thinking. Tesoro doesn't understand it, but Vlad knows it clearly. The government doesn't want to fight Whitebeard, they just want to publicly execute Fire Fist Ace. They just want to execute One Piece King of in front of the whole world. They are only descendants of the pirates, and fighting the Whitebeard pirates is something they don't want but have to do. Got it, Tesoro. Vlad took a deep breath and eased his fluctuating emotions. The situation is indeed developing in a direction that we cannot control. We originally wanted to pull Auntie off the horse first, but now it seems, Whitebeard the pirates are going to be finished first. We have to prepare well. Prepare for what we can do and what we can get in this coming storm. It was completely beyond Vlad's expectations. After he killed Teach and took away the dark fruit, he originally thought that Ace would stay in the New World honestly, and the war would disappear, and Whitebeard would continue as a pirate. The apex crushes everything, and he can get on the cusp before the bigger wave Whitebeard makes. However, Ace was caught again by various coincidences. The war was unstoppable. His previous plans could only be put on hold for now. What he should do now is to face this battle and prepare for the huge battle. The arrival of the storm. At the same time, under the Sky Island, an island called Jaya Island, Straw Hat did not know that his relatives had already stepped onto the guillotine, and he was still immersed in his own moving. See, gooey. The man wearing a straw hat on his head danced with his hands, his eyes seemed to be shining, and his mouth was completely ignoring the laws of the human body. Super handsome. Ha ha, ah ha ha, flying Mary. Suddenly, there were tears in the man's eyes, his arms covered his eyes, and the tears were wiped away, but the snot under his nose was equally eye-catching. Wow, thank you, Uncle Diamond, thank you for making the Mary so handsome. This kind of thing is a trivial matter. Who is Uncle Diamond? The man who was still proud was instantly furious, although his face was similar to a diamond, but how the facts and psychological cognition were completely different concepts. Of course he would not think so. Stop giving me nicknames. Monkey Kid. Who is the monkey? On the sea in front of the two of them, the original Straw Hat Pirates ship, the Going Merry, has been carefully refitted by the Tsuruyama Coalition Army. There are steel bars on the hull to reinforce the hull to prevent the ship from rushing into the sky. It disintegrated under the impact of the ship, with wings-like protrusions on both sides, which can take advantage of the strong wind brought by the ocean current, and the position of the stern also has a tail-like thing, which is to be able to change the direction by adjusting the airflow in the air. Little devil, according to my experience, in about half an hour, the current will come. Uncle Diamond, the descendant of Mont Blanc Rolando 400 years ago, the man with a cigarette in his mouth said, "Are you ready?" He. Pressing his hand on the straw hat on his head, the straw hat replied, "Of course. The best sailor in the world is on my ship." Hey, that's it. Kulik smiled. And the world's #1 swordsman, the world's #1 chef, the world's #1 doctor, the world's #1 musician, the world's #1 archaeologist, and the world's #1 liar. The straw hat had a smile on his face, and counted one by one with his fingers. Who cares? Do these guys have anything to do with whether you can fly to Sky Island? Kulik violently threw the cigarette butt in his mouth to the ground and crushed him. And what the hell is that last thing? Okay, kid. It could be called a face change, and a smile appeared on Kulik's face instantly. It's almost time, go, you guy, maybe. I'll rush to Sky Island. Straw Hat took a step and walked towards his boat. Ah, do so many people want to go to Sky Island? Above the sea, the long-nosed man exclaimed as he looked at the numerous pirate ships on the surrounding sea. Of course, it's not just the Straw Hat Pirates who want to rush to Sky Island. Since the existence of Sky Island has been proven, and the news that Going Township exists in the sky has spread, how many people want to go to the sky to find Going? How many? Woo. Slowly exhaling a smoke ring, the man with the peculiar curly eyebrows said, "The lure of treasure is completely irresistible to pirates." How come? Treasure or something? Orange-haired woman waving her hand. Your eyes are completely unconvincing. The green-haired man leaned on the side of the boat, looking at the woman's eyes and was speechless. Come on. Suddenly, the Straw Hat said so. Huh, what's coming? The long nose looks a little curious. Whoa. It was clear that there was no wind, but the waves gradually began to roar on the sea. Sea current. Luffy looked up, his eyes very determined. Here. Nami. Straw Hat turned his head. I'll give it to you. Look at me. The woman has a confident smile on her mouth. Woo. In the blink of an eye, the sea was already turbulent, and a huge whirlpool had appeared on the sea surface without warning. Wow ah ah ah. Damn. Such screams came from all around from time to time. Before the ocean current appeared directly, there were already quite a few pirate ships that sank in the whirlpool and lost their flying qualifications. It's coming. Nami, who was carefully observing the direction of the current on the sea, suddenly said loudly, Zoro, turn the rudder to the right. The current is coming. Oh. A man with green hair has 100% trust in his partner. Boom. The whirlpool stopped abruptly, and then, in an instant, a huge ocean current surged into the sky, like a divine pillar connecting the sky and the sea, with a large number of pirate ships rushing into the sky. Boy. On the boat in the distance, Mont Blanc Kulik, with a cigarette in his mouth, smiled. If you have a chance to meet again, tell me the story of Sky Island too. Chapter 439 First Sightings of Straw Hats Sky Island. The strong soaring ocean current can directly rush half of Jaya Island into the sky 400 years ago, so, of course, this ocean current also carries the power to easily tear all the boats that want to ride it to the sky. Wahahaha, it's flying. On the Going Merry, the man in the straw hat looked very excited and looked around. Not only were there ships being torn apart directly by the current, but a lot of ships were directly separated from the current and moved towards the sea. The distant sea fell, and just by thinking about it, you would know what happened to these guys. The wind has changed. Grabbing the side of the boat tightly, the orange-haired woman suddenly said loudly, Sanji-kun, turn the rudder to the left. Hi, Miss Nami. Without the slightest hesitation, the man with peach heart in his eyes instantly turned around according to Nami's instructions. Whoosh. Suddenly, a group of people above the deck was covered by a deep shadow. What? The long-nosed gentleman raised his head suddenly, and then tears and snot appeared on his face instantly. It's a boat. Above the sky, a large ship fell directly towards them, and after a few seconds it would fall straight on the Going Merry, smashing the ship into pieces. It's over. The long nose pressed his face with his hand, looking very frightened. Relax, Mr. Usopp. The skeleton man whose explosive head was about to take off by the wind smiled, relax. Trouble. The Straw Hat Man looked unhappy, do you want to get in my way too? Zoro. Quote. The green-haired man turned his head. Chopped. Oh. Very calm response. Whoosh. The vigorous figure rose to the sky, and his hand was already on the long sword at his waist. I have heard your breathing. Yi Dao Lu, I, Lion Song Song. Hey. The almost inaudible sound was not prominent among the noisy ocean currents, but the dazzling blade light was extremely dazzling. Wow. The large ship that fell from above split into two in an instant, and fell from both sides of the Going Merry. Woo. With his long nose covering his undulating heart, he had a look of the rest of his life on his face. I thought I was dead. Sky Island. Quote. Monkey. D. Luffy put his hand on his head, with a very excited smile on his face, coming soon. At such a height, the only surviving pirate ship is this one. This is a matter of course. The Straw Hat Pirates have excellent navigators and overwhelming pirates far superior to other pirates. Combat power. 7 kilometers above the sea, there is a white sea, known as the Sea of Clouds of the White Sea. The white clouds are like waves of Vivi undulating, full of wonderful beauty. Suddenly, PFF'd. With a dull sound, the clouds on the sea suddenly bulged, and then a ship broke out from the bottom of the sea. Ah! Who? On the deck of the ship, a man with a straw hat, a skeleton with an exploding head, a little reindeer with a hat, 3 guys slumped to the ground weakly. On the other side, a beautiful black-haired woman also sat weakly on the side of the boat. The expression on his face was also a little horrified. This cloud is so strange. Luffy sat up reluctantly, and said with some fear, how can it be the same as sea water? Is this the Sea of Clouds? Nami enjoyed the sea breeze blowing her face somewhat comfortably, and said, what a beautiful view. Is Sky Island here? Long Nose asked. I'm afraid not. Curly-browed man pointed to the sky, there's still a sea of clouds on it. Isn't it here yet? Skeleton looked surprised, how can we get there if it's still that high? Go up. Nami said, look, that side. She pointed to the distance, where there was a huge gate floating. Even here, you could see the exquisite carvings on the door. Of course, you could see the back of the door, the empty road leading to the sky. Hee, let's go then. Dash. Hey, one person is a billion. Nami's voice was extremely sharp, as if to pierce the sky. Did I hear it wrong? 1 billion. A billion for one person, then we'll, Straw Hat snapped his fingers. Zoro, Nami, Usopp, Sanji, Brook, Chopper, Robin, 7 billion. Luffy looked stunned. It's 8 billion, stupid captain, forget about yourself. Lighting a cigarette, he raised his eyebrows with a solemn expression. However, hey, this price is too exaggerated no matter how you look at it. Oh, are you guys from the Blue Sea? The mother-in-law sitting at the counter smiled. Oh, your currency should be called Bailey, right? 8 billion extols converted into Bailey should be 800,000, right? Hey, the difference is too big. Zoro drew his sword. I cut you. Calm down, Zoro. Nami slammed the ship's second combat force to the ground with a punch. 80,000, that's a lot of money. This sister, I wonder if it can be a little less. A beautiful woman has no sense of shame, and she calls an old woman in her 70s and 80s her sister. No money. Old woman smiled. Actually, if you don't give money, you can go in. Nami looked surprised. Is it okay not to give it? Of course. Old woman said solemnly. So, are you sure? The woman who regards wealth as her life nodded frantically. Then, old woman smiled. Have a nice trip. Crack. Under the sea, the huge shrimp burst out of the water and directly clamped the going melee. The Straw Hats' trip to Sky Island has finally begun. Pushing back the time a little bit, the Baihai Sea, which is 3 kilometers away from the Baihai Sea, floats on the Sky Island, an island called the Island of God, which is 10,000 meters away from the sea. Captain. It was when Vlad was enjoying a leisurely lunch break. With a series of crackling sounds, a man who had turned into lightning had turned into a flash of lightning before him. There is a situation. Vlad opened his eyes with some effort, staring at the guy who disturbed his sleep. Really, it's not over, right? Can't you let me get a good night's sleep? Yeah, don't blame me this time. Captain, because. Enno laughed. It's really interesting things have happened. Okay. Vlad got up from the reclining chair with some difficulty. Tell me about it. What an interesting thing. The guy with blue sea is on Sky Island. Chapter 440 Thor, Enno out. Well, Vlad raised his eyebrows. What? I said, Captain. Enel smiled, with a look of interest in his eyes. Just now, a group of pirates from the Blue Sea landed on Angel Island. Isn't it a very interesting news? Is that so? Vlad sat up with an interesting smile on his face. Has someone finally rushed to Sky Island? Of course, Vlad knew that since he flew to Sky Island 2 years ago, how many pirates on the Blue Sea wanted to follow his example and flew to Sky Island to find the legendary Going Township. While resting on Sky Island, he had seen many times the wreckage of ships brought to the sky by the sky current. X23 US. Com updates fastest. Yeah, I was shocked too. Enel said, a group of interesting guys suddenly appeared among those stupid guys. Hee, I want to go and play with them, okay. Hey, Captain, is it alright? Those guys are just illegal immigrants who didn't pay the entry fee anyway. Is that so? Vlad probably already knows who the guy who rushed to Sky Island is. At this point in time, he can have the ability to ride the current to Sky Island, except for the Straw Hat Pirates. Okay, God, it's not bad to go and have a good time. Vlad smiled and said, then do me a favor. What? Enel looked surprised. Go and bring me someone back. Vlad yawned and looked very tired. It should be in the midst of that group of pirates. Go and help me bring her back. How lazy. Captain, if you go by yourself, you will be able to get it right away. Enel smiled. Well, you said it too. Vlad lay back again, yawning. Who made me the captain? Yeah, haha. Enel laughed involuntarily. The woman's name is Nicole Robin, a black-haired beauty who will never mistake someone. She is quite recognizable on Sky Island. Vlad said softly, indeed, Nico Robin is a very recognizable woman on Sky Island, because Sky Island people have wings, and the only women without wings are the Fire Dragon Pirates and the Straw Hat Pirates. Of the two women in the group, Nicole Robin was naturally the only one with black hair. Beautiful. Enel said teasingly, Captain has reached this age. You have no right to speak of me. Vlad said angrily, I'm not interested in her, I'm only interested in her knowledge. Understood. Crackling. Electric light flickered, and Enel had disappeared by Vlad's side. You. Vlad yawned loudly, lying on the reclining chair with his hands behind his head, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. It's just right. Nico Robin, now, can the last piece of the ancient script puzzle be put together? Vlad thought so. Vlad asked Enel to go. Of course Nico Robin brought back this woman, not for the woman herself. Indeed, this woman is really beautiful, but so what? Does Uncle Vlad seem like someone who can indulge in beauty? Sorry, dragons are inherently lewd, but Vlad is not. Of course, there is only one purpose to bring Nico Robin back. Vlad needs her knowledge. Vlad learned ancient scripts from Kazuki Odin, but it is not complete. Although there is no problem in vocabulary, there are still loopholes in grammar. Great, and Nico Robin is the last piece of the puzzle to fill Vlad's flaws. With a smile, Vlad gradually entered the dream again. As for failure, Vlad never thought about it. Just kidding, if the current Enel can't bring Nico Robin back from the Straw Hat, Vlad promised to hammer him to death with his own hands. On the other side, the Straw Hats, who were quietly unaware of the impending crisis, were enjoying the wonderful sights unique to Sky Island. Wow, is this the town of Sky Island? The man with the straw hat yelled. His eyes seemed to be emitting lasers, and he danced with excitement. Wow, haha, it's all white. Enin. The little reindeer on the side kept nodding. It's like a city made of cotton candy. Are these all made of clouds? The green-haired man was also surprised. Well, yes. The speaker was a woman with a pair of small wings behind her back, and a very gentle smile hung on her face. The rocky soil on Sky Island is a very rare thing, and in the past it could be regarded as a holy thing. The treasures of things, even now that the island of the gods has been opened, are cherished resources that are absolutely not allowed to be wasted, so it is impossible to use them to build cities. The woman's name is Canis, an ordinary angel girl who lives on Angel Island. I met a group of very interesting people today. According to them, they are pirates from the blue sea below. This is not the same as now. Is the god of Sky Island the same? On the contrary, there are countless clouds on Sky Island. Naturally, cloud culture runs through this island. That's it. The orange-haired woman exclaimed, what a romantic place, is all civilization built on the resources of clouds. It's great. This island. Really amazing. The island. Quote. The man with the curly eyebrows has the same peach heart in his eyes, Miss Angel. Hey, it's great. Yo ho 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 ho. Brooke, who is obviously just a skeleton and still accosts the angel girls. The first person that the Straw Hat Pirates met on the Great Route was also the first after they entered the Great Route. A partner, indeed an old-fashioned guy. Yoshi. The voyage story of the great sea warrior Usopp has been added to the story of the voyage. The man with the long nose rubbed his extremely protruding long nose with a very proud smile on his face. Indeed, this is something to be proud of. The only known pirates who can rush to the Sky Island along the Sky Current are the only ones known. They are a group. This is indeed something to be proud of. Almost subconsciously following the Straw Hat Gang, the black-haired woman looked around with interest, and then she looked at something. That is. She was very surprised and couldn't help but speak out. Well. What's wrong, Miss Robin? Although he was crazy, the chef, who was indeed an excellent knight, noticed her a little surprise, and then he turned his head and saw. That is. The man was equally astonished. What's wrong? The Straw Hat tilted his head as he looked at the two frightened partners. That is. Nami was equally surprised. Pirate flag. Just on the roof not far from them, a pirate flag was fluttering in the wind, and on the dark bottom was a skull dragon head with fangs on its mouth, long horns on its head, and 2 wings on its back. That. Canis smiled. That's the banner of the Lord God who rules Angel Island and the Island of Gods.